Raindrops fall against a delicate hand reaching out to feel the cool Southeast Asian storm. Li Qiao stands firm as her arranged fiancé, Shang makes it clear he has no intention of ever marrying her. She finds the entire situation predictably cliché, barely hiding her boredom behind a silk handkerchief. Without a hint of protest, she accepts the rejection and prepares to leave the arrogant young master behind. Shang remains dismissive, crossing his arms as if he's the one who has just won a great victory. He turns his gaze away, completely unaware of the storm brewing just outside the veranda. Li Qiao's heels click against the wet stone as she navigates the lush, secretive gardens of the estate. Every step she takes moves her further away from the life her family had planned for her. Suddenly, a desperate plea for mercy stops her in her tracks near a cluster of red roses. In a nearby gazebo, a terrified man begs for his life before a figure of immense power. This is Shang, the cold-blooded ruler of the region, who views the man's failure as an unforgivable breach of protocol. With a simple, indifferent gesture of his hand, the man's fate is sealed. Guards immediately seize the traitor to drag him toward the shadows of the dark hall. Shang turns his head slightly, his sharp instincts sensing an uninvited witness nearby. Li Qiao freezes, realizing that her accidental eavesdropping has put her right in the lion's den. Before she can retreat, Shang stumbles upon the scene and demands to know if she's stalking him. She shoots him a look of pure disdain, questioning his mental state after hearing his baseless accusations. Shang is baffled by her sudden change in attitude, having expected her to be heartbroken. She mocks him ruthlessly, suggesting the rain has finally clouded his already questionable judgment. Li Qiao points toward the shadows, indicating that someone far more dangerous than him is watching. Shang steps into the light, his presence commanding absolute silence and respect. Shang arrogance evaporates instantly as he realizes his older brother has been standing right there. Li Qiao realizes she's looking at the most powerful member of the Shang family, a man known for his ruthlessness. An aide interrupts the tension, informing Shang that the family patriarch requires his immediate presence. Shang remains composed, meticulously cleaning his glasses, as if the drama around him is beneath his notice. He lights a cigarette, listening as Shang hurriedly explains that Li Qiao is just a lost guest. The garden remains still as the weight of the broken engagement hangs in the humid air. Behind his lenses, Shang eyes are sharp and calculating, dissecting Li Qiao's calm demeanor. A thin, amused smile touches his lips at the prospect of the marriage being dissolved. Shang gloats to Li Qiao, feeling emboldened now that his brother seems to support his decision. Li Qiao remains unfazed, staring directly at the powerful man with a gaze that refuses to waver. She walks past them with effortless grace, leaving the two brothers in the middle of the courtyard. She pauses just long enough to introduce herself, ensuring they won't forget the woman they just dismissed. Shang watches her exit, his professional curiosity piqued by her lack of fear. As she disappears into the night, the powerful ruler realizes this encounter was anything but ordinary. Shang maintains a stoic and unreadable expression as he watches the scene unfold with calculated intensity. Li Qiao turns her back on the brothers and disappears into the night, leaving a heavy silence behind her. Shang sternly reminds his younger brother that he owes the Li family a formal explanation for his reckless actions. Shang shrinks under the weight of his brother's authority, unable to offer even a single word of rebuttal. Behind his glasses, Shang sharp eyes narrow as he probes for any sign of deception. Panicked, Shang frantically insists he never even laid a finger on the girl during their encounter. Without another word, Shang coldly strides away, leaving his brother to deal with the fallout alone. The next day, the sun rises over the sprawling, opulent estate belonging to the powerful Li family. Lei Jun, the eldest son and a high-ranking official, arrives at the manor with an air of calculated authority. He meets his brother Li Cheng, who has rushed back from the border to defend their sister's honor. Fuming with rage, the two brothers resolve to give Shang the physical lesson he deserves. They head inside the mansion, ready to confront the situation and protect their family's name. Li Yan, the artistic second son, greets them with news that their parents are already waiting inside. The other two brothers immediately scold Li Yan for failing to protect their precious sister while they were away. Li Yan winces from the lecture while the family gathers in the lavishly decorated living room. Li Guangming, the head of the family, roars in anger over the blatant disrespect shown by the Shang family. Li Qiao remains perfectly calm, casually warning her father not to break the expensive antique teacup in his hand. Startled by the high price tag, the patriarch immediately handles the porcelain with extreme care. Her mother, Duan Shiyuan, leans in close to offer comfort and support during this family crisis. Suddenly, a notification pings on Li Qiao's phone, momentarily drawing her attention away from the discussion. She bluntly states that the era of forced arranged marriages is long over, and she is happy to move on. Her parents exchange a knowing and slightly anxious look, clearly hiding a secret from their daughter. Li Qiao catches the suspicious glance, her intuition telling her there is more to this story than they are letting on. Deciding she has had enough of the family meeting, she stands up to make a graceful exit. She informs them she is heading out to meet a friend, walking away with effortless poise. Her parents watch her leave, urging her to stay safe and return to the manor quickly. Her three brothers stand united in the background, ready to jump into action at her slightest command. As she walks, Li Qiao reflects on how her family's overprotective nature seems to be masking the full truth. Night falls as a sleek vehicle pulls up outside the city's most exclusive and high-stakes casino. Li Qiao steps out of the car, looking stunning and dangerous in a bold red dress and dark blazer. She enters the high-end establishment where the staff greets her with the utmost professional respect. The bartender slides a drink her way, acknowledging her hidden status as the venue's true owner. She takes a slow, measured sip while maintaining her enigmatic and professional composure. A loud commotion breaks out nearby as a man demands answers about a missing relative. Li Qiao turns her head slightly, observing the loud confrontation with a neutral, observant expression. Her gaze drifts toward the private VIP section, wondering if the legendary overlord is truly present tonight. In the dim light of the lounge, Shang sits like a king, surrounded by an aura of absolute power. Li Qiao finds herself staring, drawn to the intense and mysterious presence of the man who controls Nanyang. Shang exhales a cloud of smoke, looking every bit the ruthless and successful businessman he is rumored to be. Sensing a pair of eyes on him, he looks up, his sharp gaze locking onto her across the room. Li Qiao meets his look without blinking, deeply intrigued by the man who sits at the top of the world. A gentle hand brushes against him, signaling a moment of quiet truce between these two powerhouses. Li Qiao searches his eyes, looking for any hint of hesitation in her new, formidable ally. In the stillness of the night, the atmosphere becomes heavy with the weight of their unspoken agreement. They share a rare moment of mutual respect, acknowledging the strength required to navigate their dangerous worlds. Leaning in, they bridge the gap between their rival families to form an unprecedented bond. She challenges his cold exterior, sensing the fierce determination hidden beneath his calm facade. Looking up, she reflects on the sheer intensity of this unexpected collaboration. She admits that he is the first person she has ever truly considered a worthy equal in this game of shadows. They stand together, two masters of their craft preparing to face a common enemy. The distance between them vanishes as they synchronize their strategies for the battles ahead. She confirms her approval of his uncompromising and direct methods. He questions her sudden shift in loyalty, wondering if she truly understands the risks of this alliance. He maintains a stoic silence, carefully weighing every word she speaks for hidden meanings. Qiao draws him further into her confidence, revealing the depth of her strategic mind. A look of quiet satisfaction crosses her face, knowing she has secured the ultimate partner. A subtle smile touches his lips, signaling his acceptance of her bold proposal. They lock eyes in a silent pact, a meeting of minds that will change the fate of Nanyang. The intensity between them reaches a fever pitch as they finalize their secret plans. They prepare to step back into the light, forever changed by this night of tactical coordination. Above the city, the stars bear witness to a partnership that could either save or shatter their world. As the sun begins to rise, Yu rouses himself to face the consequences of his new alliance. He gazes out, already planning his next move to protect their shared interests. On the balcony, he takes a moment of solitude to reflect on the high-stakes game he is now playing. The memory of her unwavering resolve lingers in his mind, fueling his own determination. He reaches for his gear, preparing to execute the first phase of their joint operation. Elsewhere, Qiao maintains her characteristic poise, ready to handle any challenge the day brings. She releases the tension of the night, focusing entirely on the complex path ahead of her. Yu's gaze remains cold and focused, a man fully committed to the path he has chosen. As dawn breaks over the city, Li Qiao and Shang sit in the quiet aftermath of their newly formed alliance. With a practiced flick of her wrist, she extinguishes her cigarette against the glass tray. She leans back, her expression searing as she notes that the expensive tobacco actually tastes terrible. Shang watches her closely, surprised by how naturally she carries herself in such a high-stakes environment. Li Qiao ignores his gaze, resting her chin on her hand as she stares out at the morning horizon. Shang remains silent, his sharp eyes scanning her face as if trying to decode her true intentions. He begins to move, his focus shifting toward the logistical needs of the morning. Standing up, he informs her that he'll head for a shower before heading out to grab her preferred brand of Slims. He pauses for a moment, looking back with a surprisingly considerate reminder that she hasn't eaten since the wedding. Without waiting for a response, he makes his way toward the bathroom to prepare for the day ahead. A faint, knowing smile plays on Li Qiao's lips as she watches him depart. The sound of the shower fills the room as a slippered foot steps onto the polished bathroom floor. After finishing his morning routine, Shang emerges with a towel draped around his neck, the water still glistening on his skin. He steps back into the main room, only to find it eerily silent and completely vacant. Realizing he's been left behind, he can't help but acknowledge that she pulled a classic disappearance act on him. Meanwhile, across Westlake City, the morning sun hits the imposing facade of the Liu family estate. Inside, the atmosphere is far from peaceful as the family gathers for a tense breakfast session. A blonde relative vents her frustrations, blaming Evelyn for the chaos that unfolded during the wedding festivities. Evelyn, however, remains perfectly composed, casually lifting her chopsticks while feigning total ignorance of the events. The table remains divided as the family members exchange judging glances over their meal. Auntie Wilma joins the interrogation, her face etched with disapproval as she stares down the young woman. Evelyn continues to eat slowly, unbothered by the sharp accusations being hurled across the table. The blonde woman Evelyn's anger only grows, her face turning red as she demands accountability for the perceived shame brought to the family. Linus Liu finally speaks up, his voice stern as he attempts to de-escalate the rising conflict between the relatives. His intervention only fuels the fire, as the blonde woman turns her rage toward him for even allowing Evelyn to attend the wedding. Suddenly, the sharp sound of a hand striking the table silences the entire room. Curtis Liu, the formidable head of the family, peers through his glasses with an expression of cold authority. Evelyn lowers her gaze, acknowledging the weight of the patriarch's presence without saying a word. The rest of the family sits in a heavy, uncomfortable silence as the power dynamic shifts. Beneath the table, Evelyn's grip tightens, the only outward sign of the pressure she's actually feeling. Later that day at a local coffee shop, the city bustle continues outside the large windows. Shang Yu sits at a small table, looking contemplative as he ponders his next move in the Nanyang power struggle. His associate joins him, curious about the mysterious woman who has Shang Yu's undivided attention. They sit together in the dimly lit cafe, discussing the tactical necessity of locating her as soon as possible. Shang Yu's mind wanders back to the vivid details of their encounter, trying to piece together the identity of the woman who vanished. He stares ahead with a hardened resolve, determined to track down the partner who slipped through his fingers. Night settles over the Liu family's massive, silent estate. Curtis Liu clicks his prayer beads, heightening the internal tension. He coldly questions Evelyn about her late-night movements in the backyard. Evelyn stands defiant, claiming her right to move freely within her own home. She tries to walk away, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. Curtis stops her, warning her not to disturb her ailing grandmother. He reaches out, his hand on her hair signaling a stern, controlling intent. He whispers a demand for her total compliance if she ever wants to see her grandmother again. He offers a dark choice: months or years of obedience. Evelyn glares back with pure ice, mentally telling him to go to hell. Curtis remains unmoved, his face a mask of cold authority. He releases his grip, ending the immediate physical confrontation. He sentences her to confinement until she learns her place through repetitive lessons. Evelyn's composure breaks under the weight of his cruel decree. Tears of frustration and anger well up in her eyes. Traumatic memories of childhood isolation and sobbing behind locked doors resurface. She bites her lip, fighting back her swelling emotions. A sharp knock at the door interrupts the suffocating scene. Linus enters, announcing that Diane Xu has arrived to see Evelyn. Evelyn instantly realizes this is her golden chance to escape. Curtis silently walks past her, his oppressive presence finally receding. Evelyn asks for permission to leave with her friend. Curtis considers the social benefits of maintaining ties with the Xu family. He grants permission, urging her to socialize well for the family's sake. Evelyn walks away, putting distance between herself and her uncle. Outside, Diane's cheerful voice shatters the heavy, dark mood. Linus escorts Evelyn toward Diane's waiting sports car. Diane pulls Evelyn into a tight, welcoming hug. She excitedly suggests a shopping trip as a cover for their outing. Linus offers a ride, but the girls quickly decline. Diane playfully insists on her own expert driving skills. She pushes Evelyn toward the passenger seat with eager energy. The sports car door slams shut with a sense of finality. Inside, Evelyn drops the facade and tells Diane to head straight for the airport. Diane is shocked but thrilled by the boldness of the escape plan. They discuss the inevitable family fallout of their secret rebellion. The car speeds through a red light, racing toward freedom. Evelyn declares her true destination is England to find her master. She stares ahead with quiet resolve, finally leaving her past behind. Evelyn recalls the secret basement studio where her artistic journey began. Diane stays focused on the road while discussing their bold escape plan. The pair celebrates the unexpected fortune earned from Evelyn's artistic genius. Diane's expression shifts to concern regarding the grandmother left behind. Evelyn's gaze turns somber as she reflects on her family's cold history. Memories of a painful past flicker in Evelyn's eyes. She remembers Uncle Curtis seizing control after her grandfather's passing. A brief image of her parents' warmth provides a bittersweet contrast. The tragedy of a car accident shattered her world at age 12. Her grandmother remained her only source of genuine love in the Liu family. Cruel hands forcibly separated the child from her only protector years ago. Now, Evelyn hardens her resolve to end this 3-year separation. Diane watches her friend closely, sensing the weight of the moment. The loyal friend vows to provide whatever financial support is needed. A moment of shared laughter eases the tension of their flight. On a luxury cruise ship, the elevator ascends toward a high-stakes floor. A row of subordinates bows in strict professional deference. Seth walks through the hall, listening to reports about Westlake's beauty. He absorbs the information with a sharp, calculating focus. The mention of Jiangnan beauties triggers a specific, haunting memory. He thinks of the woman who vanished without a trace 3 months ago. Seth's aura grows heavy as he grapples with a failed search. Elsewhere on the ship, Evelyn moves gracefully through the opulent corridor. She marvels at the grandeur of the Hong Kong vessel. The prospect of seeing world-class masterpieces during her break fuels her excitement. The moon hangs high over the deck as night falls on the water. Evelyn pauses, captivated by a stunning floral painting. Seth's entourage approaches the very same gallery space. He casts a sharp glance toward the figures in the room. His eyes lock onto a familiar profile standing amidst the art. Seth halts instantly, causing his team to stop in their tracks. His companion looks on, confused by the sudden change in pace. With a subtle hand gesture, Seth signals a silent command. The team recognizes realizes the elite dismissal and immediately retreats. Tension thickens in the air as Seth's tactical team huddles in the shadows, weapons drawn and ready for a high-stakes interception. The armed squad remains stationed at the base of the stairs, waiting for the final signal to move in. Seth descends the grand staircase with predatory focus, his eyes locked onto the woman who has eluded him for months. He stops directly in her path, their shoes nearly touching on the polished gallery floor as he cuts off her exit. Unaware of the immediate danger, she continues to admire the art while Seth looms over her like a silent, imposing shadow. He reaches out toward her, his hand poised to finally make contact and end the search. She turns her head slightly, her expression shifting as she senses a familiar presence standing right behind her. Before he can utter a word, she excitedly trots off toward another exhibit, leaving the powerful man standing there completely baffled. He quickly reaches out to catch her, his movement sharp and decisive as he refuses to let her slip away again. She stops in her tracks, looking back with a wide-eyed expression of realization. Looking up at him, it finally clicks her quiet escape has just been interrupted by the one man she didn't want to find her. Seth stands tall, his imposing gaze demanding her undivided attention. She scans his appearance from head to toe, noting with a smirk that he's finally swapped his casual loungewear for a professional suit. Their proximity is undeniable as they stand side by side in the middle of the crowded hall. Seth's expression remains stone-cold, his mind racing with the fact that he has finally cornered his target. She meets his intense stare with a calm, unbothered composure that only she could maintain. He wastes no time on pleasantries, immediately questioning if she is currently unattached to any other professional organization. His eyes burn with a fierce determination as he reminds her exactly how long he has been hunting for her. She challenges him directly, asking if he's truly ready for another high-stakes round of their professional rivalry. Seth is taken aback by her bluntness, wondering why she's skipping the small talk after vanishing for 3 straight months. His gaze drops for a split second, carefully analyzing her body language for any sign of a lie. He notices the heavy suitcase by her side, a clear signal that she was mere moments away from another disappearing act. He steels his resolve, knowing that if he lets her walk away now, he might never see her again. Leaning in close to her face, he makes it crystal clear that he isn't letting her go without a formal agreement. Behind them, his loyal security team stands in a rigid line, ensuring that this time there is absolutely no escape. A mysterious man stops Li Qiao in her tracks, promising that once she hears what he has to say, she'll be more than interested. He reveals his high-status identity as Zhufeng, the powerful CEO of the Nanyang group. He extends a formal business card, signaling the start of a potentially game-changing professional connection. Li Qiao examines the card closely, her mind already racing with the strategic possibilities this new contact offers. When she inquires about the role of the enigmatic master, Zhufeng's expression shifts into a stern, silent warning. Li Qiao quickly pivots, playing the part of a curious, broke student to lower his guard during their exchange. She flashes a charming, innocent smile while mentioning her struggle to find a post-graduation internship. She boldly asks if a prestigious organization like the Yanhuang Group would ever consider taking on an intern like her. Zhufeng looks her over, seemingly impressed by her quiet confidence and sharp wit. He grants her request with an approving nod, confirming that she is officially welcome to join the firm. Outside the high-end venue, the city lights shimmer against the sleek cars parked along the quiet curb. Hidden in the shadows, a lurking photographer captures every movement, hunting for a scandalous scoop. As the car pulls away, the prying eyes of the paparazzi have already secured their target. Inside the vehicle, Nangsen is absolutely livid, refusing to agree with Li Qiao's reckless plan to enter the lion's den at Yanhuang. Li Qiao remains perfectly composed, knowing exactly how to manipulate the situation to her advantage. She offers a rare, legendary painting as a bribe, instantly turning Nangsen's protest into sheer, unbridled excitement. With a playful gesture for silence, she demands that her new internship remains a total secret from everyone else. Nangsen is momentarily torn between her worry for her friend and the allure of the priceless artwork. The internal struggle is brief as the temptation of the reward becomes too much for her to resist. The two friends seal the deal with a pinky swear, solidifying their pact of absolute secrecy. The next morning, the peace is shattered by a frantic phone call buzzing incessantly on the nightstand. Li Qiao wakes up to the chaotic news that she's been photographed leaving the hotel with a mystery man. On the screen, a vicious headline labels her a mistress, dragging her reputation through the mud on the university forum. The school administration has already issued a warning, threatening her graduation if the scandal isn't cleared immediately. Sunlight streams into the luxurious room, providing a stark contrast to the dark rumors swirling online. Unbothered by the digital drama, Li Qiao lets out a tired yawn and stretches, already calculating her next move. She checks her messages with a cold, technical focus, ready to deploy her hacking skills to fight back. With a sharp glint in her eye, she decides to wait for the perfect moment to crush her enemies during the upcoming thesis defense. Later that day, she arrives at the sports center, dressed casually for a private meeting she can't afford to miss. The elevator doors slide open to reveal the imposing and familiar figure of Lord Yan standing before her. Surprised by his sudden presence, she wonders when exactly he returned from his secret trip to Parma. They stand face to face, the atmosphere thick, with the weight of their shared goals and hidden agendas. Li Qiao searches his expression, anxious to hear the final outcome of his high-stakes mission abroad. He looks down at her with a steady gaze, confirming that everything went exactly as she had hoped. Realizing the engagement has finally been severed, she can't hide the genuine relief and joy shining in her eyes. She offers to buy him a meal as a token of her gratitude, but he shuts the idea down with an instant rejection. Instead of a dinner invitation, he looks at her intensely and asks if she has any skill in bowling. She admits she has a little bit of talent, curious about where this sudden shift in focus is leading. They approach the private lanes of the hall, the facility quiet, exclusive, and away from prying eyes. He leads the way inside, and Li Qiao finds herself reconsidering her harsh opinion, realizing he might be a gentler person than she thought. Li Qiao's eyes flicker open as the morning light breaks. She sits up in the quiet room, still recovering from the night's events. The metallic rattle of a suitcase signals a sudden departure. Shang focuses on his morning routine, seemingly unbothered by the noise. Qiao enters the living area, bags packed and ready to move on. Yu tracks her every movement with a sharp, calculating gaze. She stands firm, her resolve glowing in the soft morning sun. Yu notes her cold efficiency with a hint of internal frustration. Her grip tightens on the luggage handle, eager to exit. She closes the distance between them with quiet, deliberate steps. Yu stands to meet her, his presence dominating the small space. Qiao meets his eyes, keeping her expression perfectly unreadable. A faint, polite smile finally crosses her lips. Yu responds with a subtle, knowing grin of his own. He offers her a handwritten contact note for future coordination. Qiao accepts the card, confirming her direct access to him. Yu grants his permission with a rare, soft smile. She playfully asks if his professional services require a fee. The air thickens as the two share a lingering, intense look. Yu maintains his stoic, professional composure despite the tension. The note ends up discarded in the bin, its purpose fulfilled. At the elevator, Qiao finds herself locked out by the building's security. Frustration builds as the interface repeatedly rejects her touch. She realizes she cannot leave without his high-level clearance. Yu suddenly intervenes, snatching her device from her hand. He looms over her, taking full control of the technical situation. Yu initiates a digital handshake to sync their mobile devices. Qiao watches him work, her gaze narrowing with suspicion. A sharp beep confirms the data connection is successful. He approves her elevator access with a final, decisive tap. Yu probes for her remaining plans while staying in the city. Qiao looks away, insisting on her immediate and final departure. Yu demands to know why she must leave so urgently. She mentions her parents, leaving him in a stunned silence. Yu signals the elevator, his focus remaining entirely on the logistics of her departure. He delivers a firm professional reminder, insisting she maintain their established communication link. Their hands briefly cross paths as she prepares to exit the hallway. Qiao guides her luggage into the lift while Yu maintains a stoic watch. She maintains a composed expression as the transition begins. The elevator doors close, leaving Yu standing alone in the quiet corridor. Yu immediately verifies the digital connection on his mobile device. He carefully scrutinizes her contact information to ensure the sync was successful. He finds her public profile surprisingly vacant of any personal data. Qiao traverses the lobby of the vessel with her travel gear in tow. A group of old acquaintances suddenly recognizes her in the transit area. Qiao stops as Diane, Wilson, and Chloe approach with unexpected questions. Diane reaches out to confirm the identity of their elusive friend. Wilson sternly mentions that her family has been searching for her whereabouts. Qiao offers no immediate explanation for her sudden absence. Wilson declares his technical intent to escort her back to the Liu estate upon docking. Her grip tightens on her suitcase as she processes the forced return. She looks away, contemplating the sudden shift in her travel plans. Chloe challenges Wilson's intense focus on their peers' movements. Diane discovers through her device that Qiao has already slipped away from the group. Wilson reacts with frustration over the missed opportunity to secure her. The siblings engage in a heated debate regarding their failed oversight. Qiao moves through the city streets clutching a fresh bouquet of flowers. A high-end sedan pulls over to the curb directly in her path. She pauses, her attention drawn to the unidentified vehicle. Professional security personnel step out to block her progress on the sidewalk. Two imposing men in black suits corner Qiao, preventing her from moving an inch. A polished dress shoe hits the pavement as a mysterious figure exits the car. Linus stands tall, his cold gaze fixed directly on the woman they've been hunting. Without a word, a hand flashes through the air in a violent strike. The impact of the slap sends Qiao's head reeling as she staggers from the sudden blow. Linus indifferently rubs his stinging palm, mocking her for actually showing up in person. Qiao looks down, quickly deducing that this plan was far too calculated for Linus to have come up with alone. Her eyes narrow as she realizes her uncle must have been the true mastermind behind this trap. She envisions the cold, calculating figure of Uncle Liu, the man pulling the strings from the shadows. Meanwhile, she knows Cassie is likely at the airport with a small army of bodyguards, waiting for a target that isn't there. Qiao's expression shifts as she realizes her uncle is personally overseeing the search at the transit hub. Qiao faces Linus with a defiant smirk, taunting him for making such a massive scene over a simple arrival. Gritting his teeth in a fit of rage, Linus barks out her name, his patience worn paper-thin. She coolly mentions that she hasn't set foot here since the tragic passing of her parents. The tension in the courtyard is palpable as the bodyguards stand by ready for the next command. Linus snaps back with venom, refusing to even acknowledge her mother as part of his family. Qiao doesn't back down, reminding him that her mother's beauty far outshone his own family's. Unable to handle the truth, Linus screams at her to shut her mouth. She digs the needle deeper, exposing the twisted intentions his father had toward her mother. Losing all control, Linus lunges forward and roughly grabs Qiao by the shoulders. She gently touches her cheek, warning him that he'll regret it if he leaves a single mark on her face. Her gaze remains icy and unshaken, even as the situation turns physical. Linus roars in fury, his face contorted as he tries to silence her once and for all. Despite the pressure on her throat, Qiao stares him down with a hauntingly calm expression. The security team is forced to intervene, pulling their enraged boss away before he goes too far. A heavy, jagged breath escapes as the volatile atmosphere momentarily settles. Linus takes a moment to recover his composure, smoothing out his disheveled appearance. He orders his men to force her into the car, but Qiao insists on leaving her flowers with the staff first. The two lock eyes in a silent battle of wills before Linus finally tells her to make it quick. Qiao puts on a polite front for the security guard, asking him to place the bouquet at her mother's grave. While the bouquet partially obscures her movements, her fingers fly across her phone screen with practiced precision. With a final, stealthy tap, she hits the send button to alert her allies of her exact situation. A golden sedan tears down the coastal highway, the engine roaring as it races against the sunset. Inside the cab, the young passenger breathes a sigh of relief, proud of her quick escape from the man who tried to seize her phone. Her attention is suddenly diverted by the glint of a gold ornament on a passing luxury vehicle. A sleek, jet-black Rolls-Royce Phantasm glides past, its presence commanding the entire road. She gasps in awe, recognizing the vehicle as a legendary, custom-built masterpiece. The spectacle grows even more intense as an entire fleet of high-end cars follows in a display of absolute power. The taxi driver notes her shock, explaining that such a sight is common for the elites in this territory. Leaning forward with curiosity, she asks who could possibly command such a massive and expensive entourage. The driver identifies the owner as the overlord of Manhwa, a man known to many as the Great Shark of the High Seas. Inside the lead car, Lord Yen sits in silence, his sharp features illuminated by the passing city lights. She is staggered by the revelation that his empire extends to an entire fleet of massive cruise ships. The sheer scale of his influence and wealth leaves her completely starstruck. She wonders aloud if such a heavy guard is necessary to ward off constant threats of assassination. The driver confirms that the man is a ruthless force who crushes anyone foolish enough to cross him. Lord Yen remains focused on his device, his elite Hong Kong lineage giving him a level of backing few can match. The driver warns that his path is a dark one, paved with the results of his cold and bloody methods. She questions how one man could amass such staggering personal wealth in so little time. Legends say he stabilized a major family crisis at only 18, proving his tactical brilliance early on. Now he stands as a domineering figure who has completely overshadowed the rightful heirs of his family. The taxi screeches to a halt as they finally reach their destination. She stumbles out of the car, her breath hitching as she prepares for her secret mission. Hurrying toward the entrance, she urgently asks the guard if a specific girl left a package behind. The guard remains professional, asking for her identification before proceeding with the exchange. She delivers the chilling secret code with a cold, unwavering stare to verify her identity. Scanning the documents left behind, she sees Evelyn's ID and wonders about her friend's current safety. The guard leads her through the quiet grounds, their footsteps echoing against the stone path. She arrives at the designated spot, clutching a bouquet of white flowers for the memorial. Looking down at the grave, she realizes the weight of the secrets Evelyn has been forced to carry. Meanwhile, at the airport, Linus frantically tears through a suitcase in a desperate search for answers. He demands to see her travel permits, his frustration boiling over as he confronts Qiao. Linus barks in disbelief, demanding to know how she managed to enter the country without a single document. Qiao meets his gaze with a chillingly calm expression, unmoved by his aggressive outbursts. A small, mocking smile plays on her lips as she confirms his suspicions about her entry. She addresses him with a childhood nickname, using a tone of fake innocence to get under his skin. Linus grits his teeth so hard his jaw aches, pushed to the absolute brink of his patience. He barks at her to be quiet, the mention of family history hitting a raw and painful nerve. Qiao maintains a steady, professional proximity, knowing exactly how to manipulate his emotional state. Linus realizes too late that she has been deliberately stirring his anger to distract him from her real plans. He looks at the discarded items in the luggage, cursing the fact that every move she makes is a calculated trap. He looms over her, realizing that perhaps only his father has the power to truly restrain her. Leaning in close, he issues a final, cruel threat regarding her grandmother's safety. The psychological blow lands, causing a flicker of sudden intensity to flash through her eyes. Linus lashes out one last time, accusing her of being the sole reason for his family's downfall. Qiao stands her ground amidst the chaos of the terminal, reminding him that his own family's actions led to this moment. The night air hangs heavy over the Lu family's ancestral backyard, illuminated only by the cold glow of a full moon. Near the garden, a blonde woman hovers over an elderly figure resting in a wheelchair. Cassie demands her grandmother's undivided attention, frustrated that the old woman is more focused on the night sky than her own flesh and blood. Gloria Tao looks on with a vacant expression as Cassie complains about her recent divorce, shamelessly begging for jewelry to lift her spirits. The grandmother pulls away in confusion, claiming she doesn't even know this stranger and asking for her real granddaughter, Evie. Enraged by the rejection, Cassie storms toward the house and spitefully locks the heavy door from the outside to trap her rival. Through the reinforced gates, Evelyn watches the tantrum with a cold, unbothered gaze. Cassie offers a cruel smirk, satisfied that she has successfully cornered the girl in the dark. Unfazed by the petty move, Evelyn strikes back with a sharp, biting comment about Cassie's failed marriage. She mocks the blonde's misfortune, bringing up the painful truth that her ex-husband was notorious for his many affairs. A small, knowing smile plays on Evelyn's lips as she watches Cassie's composure begin to crumble under the pressure. She steps forward, pointing out that the Lu family was only ever using the marriage to leech off the powerful Qin family. Evelyn's eyes narrow as she delivers the final blow, reminding Cassie that she was discarded the moment she lost her social utility. Trembling with pure rage, Cassie loses every shred of her remaining decorum. She screams a vile insult and hurls her heavy set of keys directly at Evelyn's head. With effortless grace, Evelyn tilts her head and watches the projectile fly harmlessly past her into the darkness. The metal keys hit the stone floor with a sharp, echoing clank that signals a shift in power. Evelyn calmly reaches down to retrieve the very tool that will grant her freedom. Leaving Cassie fuming and helpless in the courtyard, Evelyn disappears into the shadows of the inner hallway. She rushes into bedroom, her voice softening instantly as she calls out for her beloved grandmother. The coldness vanishes from her eyes as she pulls the elderly woman into a tight, protective embrace. Grandma Gloria looks up at her with a frail smile, asking how her parents are doing in their distant home. A wave of heartache washes over Evelyn, knowing that her grandmother's memory is slipping further away with each passing day. She hides her inner pain behind a gentle lie, holding Grandma's hand to provide comfort during this brief moment of lucidity. The peaceful atmosphere is shattered when an angry relative screams for Evelyn to show herself immediately. Outside, the estate is bathed in an eerie blue light as the family drama reaches a violent boiling point. Evelyn calmly pulls the door open, finding herself face to face with a group of hostile family members. One of the women raises a hand in a threatening gesture, but Evelyn's icy stare stops the woman's momentum in its tracks. Suddenly, the master of the house arrives on the scene, accompanied by a stern and watchful Linus. Evelyn stands her ground with her head held high, refusing to be intimidated by the men approaching her. The older man stops short as he notices a faint red mark blooming across Evelyn's cheek. With a voice like low thunder, he demands to know exactly who dared to lay a hand on her. Evelyn doesn't say a word to defend herself, simply shifting her gaze toward the culprit in the room. The tension in the air becomes thick enough to cut as the patriarch steps toward the younger man. Without a word of warning, a violent slap echoes through the hallway, the force of the blow blurring the air. The surrounding women gasp in absolute horror, completely stunned by the sudden and brutal display of discipline. Linus staggers back from the impact, blood trickling from his lip, as he finally realizes the price of his arrogance. Linus's mother reels back in absolute shock, her face contorting with disbelief at the patriarch's sudden show of force. She screams out for Curtis, demanding to know how he could possibly dare to strike her son in front of everyone. Under the cover of a moonlit night, a hand cautiously slides a stolen key into the lock of Evelyn's room. Linus steps inside to find Evelyn huddled on the floor, asking with a heavy sigh if she will ever truly forgive him. She looks up with a cold, piercing gaze, questioning what exactly he thinks he's trying to apologize for. Linus tries to defend his past, claiming that Cassie was also punished once the truth of the framing came to light. Evelyn stares him down, her eyes reflecting a lifetime of bitterness that a simple apology can't erase. She is haunted by the memory of her younger self, shackled and weeping in a dark, windowless room. Leaning in close, she forces him to confront the reality of the physical pain she endured while he stood by. She mocks the very idea of their bond, her voice dripping with sarcasm as she calls him her dear brother. Linus looks away, unable to find the words to justify the scars he helped create. He pathetically pleads with her to leave the past behind, using their blood relation as a desperate shield. Evelyn counters with a chilling suggestion, telling him he should try being whipped and tortured before calling her vicious. She turns her back on him, signaling that this conversation is officially over. As she walks away, she utters his name with a finality that feels like a death knell. She delivers a stinging parting shot, telling Linus to his face that his entire life is nothing but a joke. Refusing to let her go, Linus reaches out and roughly grabs her by the arm. Evelyn remains perfectly calm, reminding him that the patriarch is just upstairs and will not be merciful if he finds Linus here. The realization that he could be confined, just like her, sends a visible wave of panic through his eyes. He immediately recoils, releasing his grip as if he had been burned. Standing her ground, Evelyn demands the immediate return of her mobile phone. Linus nervously scratches his head, admitting that his mother is currently trying to hack into her private messages. Evelyn doesn't care about his excuses and orders him to go get it back right this second. She takes a sharp, deep breath, preparing to alert the entire estate to his presence. Terrified of the consequences, Linus lunges forward to muffle her mouth before she can make a sound. Across the city, a man sits by the pool, growing increasingly agitated as he realizes he's being ghosted. He aggressively taps at his phone, his frustration mounting with every unanswered message. With a piercing gaze, he commands his assistant to drop everything and book a flight to West Lake City immediately. At the airport, his companion looks exhausted, dreading the impossible search ahead of them. The man strides through the terminal, questioning why his supposedly efficient team hasn't found her yet. The assistant explains that finding one woman without a name or photo in a massive city is an impossible task. Suddenly, the man's footsteps come to a dead halt as something in the crowd catches his eye. His expression shifts to one of intense focus as he whispers the name Ev under his breath. His assistant stops in confusion, completely blindsided by the sudden change in his boss's behavior. The moon hangs high over the estate as a tense confrontation unfolds within the cold walls of Curtis Liu's private study. Evelyn gazes down at a photograph of her grandmother hooked up to a ventilator, her hands trembling with a mix of fear and rage. The patriarch remains chillingly detached, informing her that the elderly woman is in critical condition and could be moved to the ICU at any moment. Evelyn finally snaps, screaming at the man for showing such heartless disregard for his own mother. Curtis dismisses her outburst with a cold stare, insisting that he is simply ensuring the woman receives proper medical oversight. Trapped in a nightmare of his making, Evelyn can only shake in silence as the weight of his cruelty sinks in. The next morning, the atmosphere at the Liu family breakfast is just as toxic as Cassie complains about Evelyn being brought back into their lives. She slams her utensils onto the table with a forceful clang, unable to contain her mounting frustration. Her mother sharply warns her to watch her words, reminding her that their reputation depends on discretion. Cassie's jaw drops in disbelief when her mother suddenly suggests they go out and buy Evelyn a new wardrobe. The matriarch reveals her true motive. As soon as the swelling on Evelyn's face goes down, they will marry her off to a wealthy family. Her expression turns predatory as she specifies they need a family with absolute authority, far more powerful than their own. Cassie stands up in a huff, outraged that her rival might be rewarded with such a high-status connection. Sensing her daughter's temper, the mother reaches out to pat her hand, urging Cassie to trust her calculated plan. A look of realization finally crosses Cassie's face as she begins to see the hidden trap within the marriage proposal. Linus abruptly stands up from the table, having lost his appetite for the family's schemes. His mother looks up, questioning if he's actually planning to head into work today. He grimaces at the thought, knowing he can't possibly show his face in public with the marks Evelyn left on him. His mother's eyes narrow with spite as she vows to make the girl pay for every bit of damage she's caused. Linus looks away, offering a hollow agreement as he prepares to retreat into the shadows. Meanwhile, Seth approaches Shang Yu with a briefing on the suspicious, scripted behavior of the guests at the wedding. Shang Yu listens with a sharp, professional focus, his mind already analyzing the tactical implications of the report. Seth explains that they've finally identified why the girl's background has been so difficult to uncover. Shang Yu asks if the information is being suppressed, because multiple rival parties are currently conducting their own inquiries. Seth is impressed by his boss's intuition, confirming that the mystery girl has become the primary target for everyone. As Seth paces the room, he notes that every elite bachelor in the city is now desperate to find her. Shang Yu smirks at the realization that he officially has competition for the prize. Seth points out that despite the rumors of her being a foster child, her refined spirit suggests she belongs to a much higher class. Shang Yu's gaze turns frustrated as he ponders why someone with her presence was barred from the main table. Seth suggests using more extreme methods to get answers, but Shang Yu cautions that they cannot risk exposure during such a sensitive time. Seth prepares to throw a dart, asking if Shang Yu will attend the upcoming private party at the lounge. The dart flies through the air and strikes the board with clinical precision, hitting the bull's eye. With a look of absolute determination, Shang Yu confirms he will be there to settle the matter once and for all. 3 days after the intense blackmail began, Shang Yu relaxes at an exclusive gala with his trusted associates, Seth and Sam. Sam leans in to share the latest gossip, mentioning that the Liu family is finally debuting a mysterious daughter who has been kept in the shadows. The atmosphere of the party shifts instantly as the crowd spots the Liu sisters making their grand entrance. Li Qiao's friend pulls her aside immediately, demanding to know why she hasn't replied to any of her messages. Her friend is horrified to learn that the Liu family confiscated and wiped her phone, and she suggests they grab her passport and flee the country right now. Evelyn stares into the distance with a heavy heart, knowing she can't leave as long as her grandmother's health is being used against her. Her friend is outraged by the Liu family's low tactics, feeling a deep ache for the impossible position Evelyn is in, offering a rare moment of genuine comfort. She pulls Evelyn into a tight hug and asks to call her Evie from now on. As they walk through the venue together, her friend reminds her of a significant moment they shared in the past. A memory surfaces of her friend standing solemnly with a bouquet of white flowers, a stark contrast to the glitzy party. The look of resolve in her friend's eyes shows that she understands the gravity of Evelyn's family situation. They reflect on the tomb of Morel Liu, noting that Evelyn has inherited her late mother's striking beauty. Cassie interrupts the moment, whispering a sharp threat and questioning why Evelyn is suddenly acting so social with the elite. Evelyn maintains a cold exterior, joking that she isn't here to socialize, but rather to find someone to kill. From across the balcony, Shang Yu's sharp eyes lock onto his target, his expression unreadable. Bathed in the soft glow of the evening lights, Evelyn looks every bit the elegant noble woman. Seth waves to get Shang Yu's attention, confirming that the woman in the spotlight is indeed the one they've been tracking. Seth is visibly stunned by her presence, finding it hard to believe she's been hidden away for so long. She moves through the ballroom with an effortless grace that captures the attention of every guest in the room. Shang Yu watches her with an intense focus, his mind already working through the implications of her appearance. Seth is so intrigued that he immediately volunteers to head off and dig up more information on her. A few minutes later, the scene shifts to a more secluded area of the club, where the real move is about to be made. Seth returns quickly, passing a confidential file over to Shang Yu for a final review. Shang Yu looks over the document, noting that Evelyn Liu is a fittingly lovely name for the second miss of the Liu family. He takes a slow sip of his drink, dismissively labeling her a goody two-shoes despite her sophisticated aura. They decide to use their professional influence to lure her into a private meeting away from the prying eyes of the crowd. Meanwhile, the socialites at the party surround Evelyn, pressuring her to find a suitable match among the city's bachelors. Cassie leans in close to maintain the illusion of sisterly affection, while whispering a warning for Evelyn to stay in her place. Evelyn doesn't back down, coolly retorting that Cassie is the least intelligent person in the entire family. To the onlookers, they appear to be two close sisters sharing a private moment, but the air between them is thick with animosity. Evelyn's sharp instincts kick in when she is suddenly addressed by a stranger. Sam, he introduces himself as the club manager, informs her that a private guest is waiting to see her upstairs. He professionally escorts her toward a private lounge, ensuring she feels like an honored guest. As she steps through the door, the camera focuses on her elegant heels, emphasizing her entrance into the lion's den. Evelyn's eyes widen in surprise as she realizes she has walked into a carefully prepared trap. A hand snaps the lock shut behind her, sealing the exit while she stands face to face with the men watching from the terrace. She scans her surroundings with a wary gaze, refusing to let her guard down for even a second. Sam and Seth watch her reaction through the glass, curious to see how the second miss handles the pressure. While Sam is intimidated by her fierce energy, Shang Yu remains perfectly calm as she approaches him. Evelyn closes the distance between them, her presence commanding the attention of everyone in the private space. Shang Yu finally breaks the silence, addressing her by her full name to let her know he knows exactly who she is. Li Qiao concludes her meeting at the cafe, politely informing her companion that she needs to depart. She steps out onto the sidewalk, walking toward a sleek car parked along the curb. Her composure falters for a split second when she realizes Master Yan is waiting for her inside. The powerful man sits in the shadows of the backseat, his gaze sharp and piercing. Li Qiao notices a chilling intensity behind his calm expression, wondering if he is secretly displeased. She maintains a professional tone, asking if he has come to the old city on official business. Master Yan ignores the small talk, pointedly asking if the man she was just with is her boyfriend. The sudden interrogation catches her off guard, leaving her to stare at him in silence. Looking at his stern profile, she can't help but wonder if this is a display of professional jealousy. She quickly clarifies the situation, firmly stating that she is currently single. A brief, silent standoff ensues as the two of them lock eyes in the quiet of the car. To ease the tension, she offers him a small red safety charm she received as a gift. She finds his stoic reaction to the simple gesture surprisingly charming as she smiles at him. Master Yan accepts the gift and asks what specifically brought her to this part of town. Keeping her cards close to her chest, she simply mentions she was handling personal matters before preparing to leave. He watches her exit the vehicle, offering a final instruction for her to stay safe. The luxury car pulls away, leaving her alone on the sidewalk as she watches it disappear into traffic. Later that evening, Li Qiao relaxes at home while receiving a crucial update over the phone. Her contact informs her that Jiang Yai has been officially expelled from the university for her past misconduct. The academic committee discovered a staggering 50% similarity in Jiang Yi's recent thesis. Li Qiao asks for clarification on how they managed to prove the plagiarism so decisively. It turns out the references used were from a private research institute that only Li Qiao had the credentials to access. Her mentor laughs off her praise, reminding her not to be late for her own defense class the next day. Morning arrives at the university campus, marking a major turning point in her academic career. Li Qiao walks through the corridors with poise, already being scouted by top-tier research institutes. Stepping out into the fresh air, she wonders what her next move will be now that college is behind her. Her path is blocked by a disgraced Jiang Yi, who bitterly accuses her of orchestrating her downfall. Li Qiao remains cold and unmoved, admitting that she is perfectly satisfied with how things turned out. Jiang Yi is left speechless, her face pale as she realizes her influence has completely vanished. She tries to beg for mercy by bringing up their years as roommates, but Li Qiao has heard enough. Desperation takes over as Jiang Yi realizes that no one is coming to save her this time. Li Qiao delivers a final, crushing warning. One more word, and she will ensure Jiang Yi is banned from the city entirely. A white SUV cruises through the city streets as Li Qiao moves forward with her day. Her phone rings again, this time with a caller asking why she hasn't used the business card he gave her. She realizes it's the persistent Zhui Feng, who is still offering her a prestigious internship. Recognizing the value of the opportunity, she confirms that she is indeed interested in the position. He invites her to head over to the Yanwang headquarters immediately for a personal tour. As the traffic light turns green, Li Qiao prepares to step into a high-stakes professional world. Li Qiao makes a bold declaration, urging the man to act fast if he's truly serious. Seth stares back in stunned silence, his composure momentarily shaken by her words. He looks down at his reflection, realizing he's fallen much deeper for her than he anticipated. The two stand at a distance in the grand hall, the weight of their conversation hanging in the air. Nearby, two men watch the exchange with wide-eyed shock, unable to believe what they're seeing. Li Qiao turns her sharp, intimidating gaze toward them, demanding to know their family lineage. One man starts panicking, certain that she's already holding a dangerous grudge against them. Sam laughs nervously to himself, terrified that her intense look means he's about to be shredded. Later that evening, a hand slowly strokes the rim of a wine glass as plans begin to take shape. Seth stands with his inner circle, his mind clearly preoccupied with something other than business. He peers into his drink, asking about the traditional proposal customs in Westlake City. His companion is blindsided by the question, shocked that he's already thinking of marriage. Seth remains laser-focused, ignoring the disbelief as he demands an answer from his friend. The men appear confused in their chibi forms, admitting they have zero experience with proposals. They advise him to slow down and show proper respect to a girl from such a strict family. His friend warns him that his secret identity could easily be used as a weapon against him. Tossing his patience aside, Seth pulls out his phone to call for backup. He demands his brother drop everything and fly to Westlake City to assist with the proposal immediately. The group sits in awkward silence after Seth is abruptly hung up on by his sibling. His friend is left fuming, exasperated by Seth's sudden and impulsive romantic streak. Inside the party, a pink-haired woman grows concerned, wondering where Evelyn has disappeared to. A small chibi head notes that Evelyn is currently unreachable because she doesn't have her phone. The pink-haired woman accepts a glass of fruit wine while the search for her friend continues. Evelyn finally returns to the group, greeted by her friend who was worried sick about her. She explains how Sam led her astray before getting caught up in a business conversation. Her friend looks suspicious, immediately guessing that Sam's getting lost was a deliberate move to leave her alone. The girls scold the chibi version of Sam, warning him to keep his distance from Evelyn from now on. Evelyn stands poised and calm, watching the petty drama with a drink in hand. Sam offers a knowing smile, realizing Evelyn is much more cunning than she appears. He watches her closely, impressed that she knows exactly how to get others to do her dirty work. The atmosphere settles as the group prepares for formal introductions among the guests. Sam introduces Shang, the powerful owner of the venue and a key business partner. The pink-haired woman strikes up a conversation about luxury cars and potential lifestyle swaps. The blonde woman joins the circle, her eyes fixed on the status and wealth of their new host. She carefully evaluates Shane, deciding he's the perfect target to benefit Evelyn's social standing. A man named Lloyd is brought forward to meet Evelyn, representing the influential Howe family. Lloyd greets her with a polished smile, offering a drink to mark the occasion. Evelyn remains professional but firm, explaining that she cannot handle alcohol. The blonde woman suddenly snatches a glass, refusing to let Evelyn decline the offer. She pushes the wine toward Evelyn, insisting that she shouldn't be rude to a guest of his stature. With a cold and demanding expression, she tells Evelyn to drink up and show some respect. Evelyn is forced into an uncomfortable spot as Lloyd watches the social pressure mount. A sudden trip sends wine flying as the blonde rival feigns a clumsy accident to humiliate her target. Diane quickly intercepts a fresh glass from the server to keep the professional atmosphere intact. She passes the replacement beverage over to Evelyn, ensuring the social flow remains uninterrupted. The blonde woman grows visibly impatient, demanding that Evelyn hurry up and finish the drink. Evelyn accepts the glass with a steady hand, ready to face the challenge head-on. She takes a long sip without hesitation, surprising the onlookers with her sudden compliance. A subtle realization flashes in her eyes as she tastes that the liquid is actually just juice. Nearby, the influential Mr. Lloyd is pulled into a friendly greeting by the venue's host. Mr. Jan joins the group with a boisterous embrace, further complicating the social dynamic of the evening. He enthusiastically invites everyone to join him for a round of high-end wine to celebrate the occasion. Seizing a private moment, the blonde rival leans in to whisper a cold threat directly into Evelyn's ear. She whips out a photograph of Evelyn leaving with Sam, intending to use it as leverage for blackmail. The rival continues her verbal assault, calling Evelyn a useless tool for her family's grander plans. She vows to have Evelyn locked away by their father if she doesn't comply with every social demand. Evelyn remains completely unfazed, offering a sharp, confident smirk back at her supposed sister. Turning her back on the toxic confrontation, Evelyn prepares to make a graceful exit alongside Diane. A small, knowing smile plays on her lips as she heads toward the building's exit. She silently promises a future reckoning for the woman she calls sister, refusing to be intimidated. The two women finally step out into the cool night air, leaving the intense pressure of the gala behind them. Once they are safely outside, Evelyn reveals a brand new, high-tech phone that she managed to acquire. When Diane asks where it came from, Evelyn simply states it was a gift from someone vital. Diane offers a playful chibi warning about the hidden motives of the men in their social circle. As they walk, a sleek black luxury car waiting by the curb catches Evelyn's attention. She locks eyes with the man leaning against the vehicle, recognizing him as the one she was looking for. Seth maintains a stoic, professional expression as he commands her to get into the car. Evelyn pauses for a brief second of hesitation, weighing her options in the quiet street. She takes a decisive step forward, her heels clicking against the pavement toward the open passenger door. Seth holds the door steady, ensuring she enters the vehicle safely and with total decorum. He takes a final moment to speak with Shane Zhan before officially departing for the night. His gaze remains heavy with unspoken thoughts as he prepares to drive away from the venue. Once they are on the road, Evelyn focuses on her device to share the specific destination address. Seth catches a glimpse of her composed demeanor and finds her reaction to the situation truly intriguing. Evelyn wonders if his calm attitude stems from his own confidence or a simple lack of concern. He breaks the silence by asking if she still harbors resentment over being locked in earlier that day. She clarifies her stance, stating firmly that her frustration isn't directed at him specifically. Seth processes her words in silence, gaining a much deeper understanding of her unique perspective. The car glides smoothly through the city streets as the two maintain a respectful, quiet distance. Seth realizes that leaving her alone in such a difficult situation would have been a grave error on his part. He notices her silence and wonders why she hasn't requested any further company for the rest of the night. Inside the car, Evelyn's gaze drifts as she inquires about the specific hours the lounge remains open. Seth remains focused on the road, detailing the exact reach of the security cameras inside the establishment. He can't help but wonder what kind of strategy she is currently formulating in her mind. With a sharp look, she reminds him that as far as the world is concerned, she never met him tonight. Seth is caught off guard by the request, questioning if his presence is truly that much of a liability. She maintains her composure, asserting that her reputation as a good girl depends on keeping their meeting a total secret. Seth watches her silently, concerned about the potential repercussions she might face from her own family. As they approach the estate, she urgently points out a surveillance camera and orders him to pull over immediately. The luxury vehicle stops just outside the range of the house's monitoring systems. Evelyn prepares to exit the vehicle, her mind already shifting toward the confrontation waiting inside. Before she can move, Seth reaches out and firmly catches her hand to stop her. He looks at her with a serious expression, offering to take her out for late-night snacks or a boat ride to clear her head. He emphasizes his willingness to switch to a more discreet car just to spend more time with her. Evelyn meets his gaze but remains firm, stating that leaving the house again is simply not an option. She emphasizes the gravity of her situation, insisting that she must go inside right now. Seth offers to provide a professional escort to the door, intending to see her safely to the entrance. She quickly places her hand over his, signaling for him to stay exactly where he is. A heavy silence fills the car as the two lock eyes, both understanding the risks involved. Breaking the contact, she tells him to let go and prepares to depart. Left alone in the driver's seat, Seth realizes her sudden interest in surveillance means something much bigger is at play. Evelyn steps into the house and is greeted by her uncle, who sits waiting for her in the dimly lit living room. The man's sharp eyes immediately lock onto her attire, questioning the origin of the dress she's wearing. He demands to know her whereabouts, expressing his frustration over her long absence. She calmly explains that she was under Cassie's supervision at a local lounge. The uncle's hand pauses mid-motion as he considers the implications of her being at such a venue. Standing tall, Evelyn admits she had to offer a toast to a specific guest before returning home early. The uncle leans in, his gaze turning cold as he demands to know exactly who she was forced to greet. When she reveals it was the young master of the prestigious Hao family, the man is visibly shaken by the news. He tries to catch her in a lie, asking how she got home, but she coolly claims she took a standard taxi. Despite her explanation, he imposes a strict punishment, ordering her to copy traditional texts as a lesson in discipline. Safely back in her room, Evelyn finally closes the door on the stifling atmosphere of the household. She reflects on her interaction with Seth, hoping he proves to be a reliable ally in her plans. Meanwhile, a servant knocks on the uncle's study door to deliver a technical report on the night's events. The assistant confirms that according to their initial check, Evelyn appeared to return to the estate alone. Unconvinced, the uncle orders a full investigation into the lounge to verify every detail of her story. Elsewhere, a security staff member is overwhelmed by the sudden, high-level interest in the night's footage. Seth is informed that he isn't the only one looking for the tapes. The Liu family has made the same demand. He absorbs the news with a stoic expression, realizing the situation is escalating faster than anticipated. His eyes narrow as he prepares for the inevitable clash between his interests and the powerful Liu family. Li Qiao finishes her meal with a quiet elegance, unaware of the test about to begin. Seth watches her closely, asking if she's finally satisfied with her dinner. She looks back with a sharp gaze, waiting to see what his next move is. Without a second thought, Seth orders his elite assistant to fetch some water for the guests. Luoyu delivers the glass, though her pride as a top-tier professional is clearly wounded by the menial task. She fumes internally, questioning why a high-ranking assistant like herself should ever have to bow to a mere girl. Seth catches the subtle tension in the room, his eyes narrowing as he maintains total control. He pivots to business, questioning Li Qiao's linguistic skills before handing over a stack of complex documents for translation. Li Qiao accepts the challenge instantly, her voice steady and full of confidence. She settles onto the sofa, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she dissects the technical text. Precisely 1 hour later, she announces that translated files have been successfully delivered to his inbox. The physical papers are passed over, marking the end of her lightning-fast assignment. Seth instructs Luoyu to conduct a thorough review of the work, putting Li Qiao's accuracy to the ultimate test. Luoyu scars the pages, desperately searching for even a single error to use as leverage. Her eyes widen in shock as she realizes the translation is flawless. Seth calmly asks for her professional opinion on the quality of the work. Stunned, Luoyu admits that the use of specialized medical terminology is even more precise than her own. Li Qiao remains composed, simply asking if there are any technical issues that need addressing. Luoyu concedes that she is competent, yet her demeanor remains cold and unyielding. She shakes her head, declaring that skill alone doesn't make Li Qiao worthy of standing by the master's side. Sensing the professional friction, Seth dismisses Luoyu to handle the matter privately. He stands up to explain that Luoyu is no mere secretary, but the vice chairman of the entire pharmaceutical group. Li Qiao realizes she has drastically underestimated the caliber of the people surrounding him. Seth steps closer, warning her that earning the respect of his top 4 subordinates will be an uphill battle. She wonders why their professional approval even matters to her long-term goals. Confused, she asks why she should care about gaining recognition from his inner circle. Seth maintains a professional but firm distance as he tells her she already knows the answer. Li Qiao looks away, maintaining her stance that she is strictly there for business. She shields her face, trying to process the weight of his expectations. He breaks the silence by announcing that his father will arrive tomorrow to formally dissolve their unwanted engagement. A spark of genuine joy lights up her face as she asks if he will be there to finalize the deal. The next morning, the sun rises over the sprawling Liu estate as the high-stakes meeting begins. Both families gather in the grand hall, the air thick with the tension of a broken contract. Elder Shang speaks with authority, suggesting it's best to cancel the arrangement since neither child is interested. Li Qiao listens intently, feeling a massive weight finally lifting off her shoulders. Seth catches her eye, noting with a faint smirk that she has finally achieved her goal. Internally, she celebrates the freedom she's fought so hard to secure. Suddenly, the elder turns to her, asking if she has ever visited the city of Parma. He gives her a knowing look, telling her she should go back sometime, leaving her haunted by the mysterious phrasing. A sleek box is pushed forward to settle the past. Seth returns the marriage contract, officially ending the engagement. Li Qiao questions why she was never shown the document. She suspects the contract holds secrets beyond mere legalities. Elder Shang offers a gold card as professional compensation. He instructs her to visit her uncle upon arriving in Parma. Li Qiao accepts the card with a calm, professional nod. The group stands to conclude the meeting. Elder Shang and Seth walk toward the exit together. Seth pauses, asking to speak with Li Qiao privately. Elder Shang finds his son's behavior unusually focused. The pair stands outside for a private debrief. Seth steps closer, closing the distance between them. He asks if she knew about the contract's contents. Seth leans against the wall, towering over her. Li Qiao notes his intense proximity while staying composed. She meets his gaze to confirm her honesty. He tells her to forget the contract now that it's void. Seth suggests she focus on how to thank him instead. He lifts her chin, challenging her to find a gesture. Li Qiao realizes he is teasing her on purpose. He mentions Luoyu will handle her travel logistics. Li Qiao is surprised by by the choice of assistant. She agrees as long as Loyu remains professional. Seth promises to support her through any upcoming trouble. Li Qiao responds with a soft, subtle smile. The next day, Seth arrives at her door in formal attire. Li Qiao checks her phone, dressed in casual pink. She hurries down the stairs to meet him. Seth explains his father invited her for a meal. He admits he's the one who truly wants her there. He reaches out to take her hand. They walk together toward the car for the gathering. Seth comments on the situation as they stroll together through the estate. Suddenly, Li Qiao's foot loses its grip on the slick, manicured grass. She lets out a startled gasp as the world begins to tilt. Before she can fall, Seth's strong arms pull her close to steady her. Her heart thumps wildly as she reaches out to steady herself against his chest. He peers down at her, asking why she wasn't paying more attention to the path. She quickly counters, arguing that the fault lies with his overly slippery lawn rather than her coordination. Seth's gaze shifts downward, his expression softening with a sudden, sharp concern. He spots the faint redness blooming across her ankle from the slight twist. Without a word, he scoops her up into a secure carry to prevent her from putting any more weight on it. He berates himself for his lack of foresight, wishing he had simply ordered the car for this short distance. Li Qiao stares at him in silence, realizing he is far more worried about a small scratch than she is. He maintains a steady pace as he brings her back to the main house for immediate medical attention. A professional is quickly summoned to perform a thorough examination of the minor injury. The doctor confirms it is only a mild sprain and prepares the necessary Medicaid oil for treatment. Seth takes the bottle from the doctor, choosing to personally oversee the application of the medicine. He humbles himself, kneeling on the floor to ensure her leg is properly supported during the process. Li Qiao is momentarily stunned by the level of care the high-ranking CEO is showing her. He ignores her protests, firmly instructing her to rest her foot on him so he can begin. She feels a jolt of surprise as his fingers make contact to begin the treatment. The nearby staff can hardly believe their eyes as their formidable boss kneels to attend to her so diligently. He applies the oil with a rhythmic, steady pressure to soothe the inflammation. Li Qiao sits back, noting the intense warmth radiating from his hands as he works. His eyes remain locked on the task, showing a rare and singular focus on her recovery. She watches him intently, her internal pulse quickening at his unexpected and total devotion. He finishes the treatment with careful precision, ensuring every part of the sprain is covered. Standing up, Seth immediately orders his assistant to have the entire lawn replaced with a safer grass. Li Qiao tries to tell him that such a massive renovation is unnecessary for such a tiny accident. His gaze remains unwavering, fueled by a deep-seated need to protect her from any future harm. In that moment, she realizes that to him, her well-being is more valuable than anything else. Seth reaches out, his focus entirely on ensuring Li Qiao is supported. He sweeps her off her feet, leaving her flustered by the sudden display of affection in front of the family patriarch. Elder Shang watches the scene unfold from the living room, prompting Seth to explain that she has sustained an injury. With practiced care, Seth settles her onto the plush sofa while his father marvels at his son's newfound sense of consideration. Attempting to shift the focus, Li Qiao brings up the expensive diamond card he gifted her to express her gratitude. Elder Shang waves off her modesty, noting that the card was always intended for her as part of their family ties. Li Qiao catches the gravity in the elder's voice, sensing a deeper mystery surrounding his mentions of their time in Parma. Concerned for her recovery, the elder insists that she remain at the estate for the night to rest her ankle. The sudden offer catches the young genius completely off guard, leaving her wide-eyed with surprise. Seth immediately backs his father's decision, directing the staff to prepare a room for her immediate rest. The elder then confirms their business departure for Parma tomorrow, a schedule Seth accepts without hesitation. He lifts her once more, prompting Li Qiao to ask about the duration of his upcoming trip. Seth locks eyes with her, admitting he is unsure of the timeline and inviting her to join him. She regretfully declines, reminding him of the vital importance of attending her grandfather's birthday celebration the following day. Seth promises they will travel together in the future, telling her to wait patiently for his return. He carries her through the expansive hallway, heading toward a guest room where she can recuperate in peace. Outside, the evening sky settles over the estate as the lights begin to dim for the night. The quiet of the hallway reflects the transition into a time of much-needed rest for the household. Seth enters the room, maintaining a strictly professional focus on ensuring his guest is comfortable. His gaze lingers on her for a brief second, confirming she has successfully drifted off to sleep. Li Qiao lies peacefully on the bed, finally succumbing to the exhaustion of the day's events. She shifts slightly under the covers, settling into a deeper state of slumber. Seth stands at the bedside, watching over her with a protective and silent vigil. He leans forward, moving with careful precision so as not to disturb her rest. Seeing the blanket has slipped, he reaches down to adjust the bedding with clinical efficiency. He pulls the fabric up, ensuring she is fully covered and warm against the night air. Li Qiao remains completely unaware of his presence, her breathing steady and calm. Seth pauses for a moment, his face inches from hers as he observes her peaceful expression. He leans down and places a gentle, protective kiss on her forehead as a sign of his devotion. With a quiet whisper, he wishes her a good night before preparing to depart. He steps out of the room, turning off the lights to let the shadows take over. Li Qiao sleeps on in the silence, safely tucked away as the house falls into a deep slumber. Over a quiet breakfast, Seth checks in on Li Qiao's comfort after her first night at the estate. He looks up with a sharp gaze, curious about what she found unusual about her stay. Li Qiao admits she's puzzled, because the lights she left on were mysteriously turned off by morning. Seth keeps his expression unreadable, letting a brief silence hang between them. He casually explains that the estate's high-tech thermal sensors automatically manage the room's environment. Li Qiao realizes the house is so advanced it practically took care of her while she slept. Maintaining his professional demeanor, Seth instructs her to finish eating before her ride arrives. She sips her coffee, silently noting that he hasn't lost an ounce of his stubborn nature. The scene shifts to the bustling home of the Duan family as they celebrate a milestone birthday. Li Qiao makes a graceful entrance, carrying a sleek and mysterious gift box. She offers her grandfather a sincere blessing for health and peace in the years to come. Elder Duan Jingming beams with pride as he accepts the thoughtful offering from his granddaughter. Her cousin Duan Yixuan immediately chimes in with a challenge to open the box for everyone to see. Li Qiao maintains a calm, stoic expression, unfazed by the sudden spotlight. Yixuan scoffs at the contents, loudly labeling the antique inkstone as nothing more than a piece of junk. Seeking to outshine her, Yixuan prepares to present her own lavishly packaged gift. She boasts about the legendary origins and long history of her treasure from Pangu Mountain. However, the grandfather's eyes widen as he recognizes the true value of Li Qiao's humble-looking gift. Li Qiao identifies it as a rare imperial dragon-patterned inkstick from the height of the Qing dynasty. Knowledgeable guests lean in, identifying the priceless sutra paper and bamboo-carved brushes as true masterpieces. Yixuan's smug expression sours as the room focuses entirely on Li Qiao's impeccable taste. Uninterested in the petty rivalry, Li Qiao takes her seat with a look of quiet confidence. Suddenly, a servant announces that another massive delivery has arrived in Li Qiao's name. The announcement catches Li Qiao completely off guard as she watches the workers enter. She wonders what could possibly be arriving, since she only prepared one gift for the occasion. A large object draped in red silk is wheeled into the center of the hall. An assistant steps forward to unveil the grand surprise to the gathered family. Li Qiao pinches the bridge of her nose, already suspecting who is behind this extravagant gesture. The assistant reveals a 1,000-year-old camphor wood screen, detailing its rare, mosquito-repelling, and health-aiding properties. Grandpa Duan is nearly speechless at the sheer cost of such a legendary artifact. He marvels at the lifelike carvings that have remained vibrant for over a millennium. Li Qiao quickly pulls out her phone to confirm her theory about the mysterious benefactor. A simple text from Seth confirms that the screen was sent as a token of his high regard. She realizes that despite his busy schedule, he went out of his way to bolster her family status. She sighs, knowing he likely worried she wouldn't have anything impressive enough to show up her relatives. She sends back a dry message, teasing him for using his immense wealth to solve her social dilemmas. Watching from the sidelines, Yixuan's jealousy reaches a boiling point as she glares at her cousin. She seethes internally, pinning all her hopes on a future corporate success that she believes will finally put Li Qiao in her place. Night falls over the city as the highway glows under the winter frost. Inside her car, Li Qiao watches the passing lights with a gaze that suggests she's already planning her next move. She expertly maneuvers through the dark streets, her focus narrowing as she nears her destination. A flicker of recognition crosses her eyes, sensing that the atmosphere is about to turn volatile. Tires screech as she spots Luo Yu's vehicle forced to a halt in the middle of the road. A group of enforcers in suits have completely blocked the path, creating a tense and dangerous standoff. Luo Yu stands her ground defiantly, her voice dripping with disdain as she calls out the cowards surrounding her. From the safety of her driver's seat, Li Qiao observes the escalating ambush with cold calculation. Without hesitation, she whips the steering wheel around to intervene in the confrontation. The heavy vehicle skids into the scene, throwing the thugs' formation into total chaos. One of the men lunges forward, pressing a blade against Luo Yu, while taunting her about a past victim. Hearing the name of the man from the morgue, Li Qiao realizes these are the killers she has been searching for. The thug tightens his grip on Luo Yu's throat, relishing his momentary position of power. He sneers with a murderous glint in his eyes, warning her that any further struggle is futile. Suddenly, a shadow looms behind him as Li Qiao steps into the light with terrifying silence. She moves with the precision of a predator, ready to dismantle the threat with clinical efficiency. Li Qiao stands tall, her presence alone shifting the atmosphere from desperation to pure dread for the attackers. The thug falters, glancing back in confusion at the girl who dared to interrupt his work. She walks forward with a rhythmic, steady pace, asking if he was actually trying to speak to her. With a chilling calm, she offers him one final choice: get lost now or face the consequences. Insulted by her boldness, the man snarls a threat, completely unaware of the massive mistake he's making. Before he can even finish his sentence, a sudden strike catches him squarely across the face. Li Qiao follows up with a devastating kick that sends the heavy-set man crashing into the asphalt. She stands over the scene like a guardian, ensuring Luo Yu is safe, while the momentum shifts entirely in their favor. The attacker grovels on the ground, his bravado replaced by sheer terror as he looks up at his new opponent. Li Qiao pins him down with effortless strength, turning the situation around in an instant. She leans in close, her voice a deadly whisper as she tells him his life depends on his next decision. Terrified, the man stammers for mercy, only for Li Qiao to demand he hand over his phone. When he tries to resist, she drives the blade down with such force that his defiance turns into a scream of pure agony. Shaking with fear, he quickly fumbles through his pockets to surrender the device to her. With the evidence in hand, she turns her back on the broken man, leaving him in the dust. She signals to Luo Yu that the objective is complete and it is time to leave the scene. Once they're safely back in the car, Li Qiao explains that taking the phone ensures the thugs won't be able to call for backup. Luo Yu looks at the stolen phone, realizing the strategic brilliance behind Li Qiao's swift and violent intervention. She stares at her companion, marveling at how a girl who looks so delicate can be such a ruthless force of nature. Meanwhile, the moon hangs high over the ancient, fortified estate of the Pama family. Inside, Seth remains composed during a high-stakes meeting, dismissing reports of local trouble as a trivial matter. However, the moment his age shows him that Li Qiao is involved, his professional mask cracks into a look of sheer, protective fury. Seth prepares to depart for Siginia, giving firm orders to his subordinates to move out. Despite warnings that there is no rush, Seth refuses to wait until a disaster forces his hand. The elder statesman sighs, reminding Seth that his own safety is paramount if he hopes to protect anyone else. He watches the young leader depart, silently praying that Seth can keep the last surviving member of the family safe. Back at the residence, Li Qiao's rest is interrupted by a vibrating phone displaying Logan's name. She answers the call immediately, sensing the urgency in the assistant's voice. Logan pleads for her to rush to the mansion, explaining that Reese is undergoing a brutal punishment that she won't be able to endure for much longer. Li Qiao agrees to head over at once, though she is stunned by Seth's unexpectedly early return. Upon arrival, Logan quickly escorts her through the training facility to the source of the conflict. Inside the ring, a battered Reese struggles to defend herself against a relentless onslaught of blows. Li Qiao stops in her tracks, witnessing the high-stakes relay match unfolding in the gym. Her concern grows as she realizes Reese is still in recovery and risks serious injury at this intensity. Seated on the sidelines, a cold and detached Seth demands the next challenger take their place. His sharp eyes narrow as he catches a glimpse of an unexpected visitor in his peripheral vision. Li Qiao strides confidently toward the ring, her presence instantly shifting the room's heavy atmosphere. She breaks the silence by asking him exactly when he arrived back from his trip. Seth rises to meet her, questioning what could have possibly brought her to the training grounds so suddenly. Maintaining her composure, she claims she simply had some free time and wanted to drop by for a visit. Seth stares her down with a skeptical look, clearly doubting her casual explanation. Internally, Li Qiao realizes that the man is far too perceptive to be easily deceived by her excuses. She offers a simple nod, doubling down on her story with a straight face. Seth's faint smile vanishes as he turns his focus back to the grim business at hand. Reese remains slumped in the background, gasping for air while Seth permits Li Qiao to stay and watch the session. Before he can continue, Li Qiao reaches out and places her hand firmly over his. Seth immediately reacts to the contact, noting how icy her skin feels against his own. He locks eyes with her, his professional exterior softening slightly at the realization of her physical discomfort. She looks up at him with a gentle expression, asking if he wouldn't mind helping her warm up. He doesn't hesitate, wrapping his large hand around hers to share his natural warmth. Li Qiao appreciates the small kindness, finding the warmth of his grip genuinely comforting. Leaning in close, she finally confronts him about why he is being so harsh on Reese. Seth remains firm, stating that he has no room for people whose negligence puts others in danger. Li Qiao counters his logic, arguing that since she is the one being protected, she deserves a voice in the matter. Logan watches from a distance, terrified by the sheer audacity Li Qiao shows when standing up to the boss. She holds her ground with a defiant look, challenging him to disagree with her perspective. Seth's fingers interlock with hers, a silent sign of his shifting mood. He acknowledges her reasoning with a stoic nod, appreciating her intervention during the conflict. Firmly pulling her along, Seth declares that the disciplinary session is officially over for now. The pair exits the training area together, leaving the stunned subordinates in their wake. Logan rushes to support the battered Reese, urgently preparing a trip to the medical wing for treatment. The elevator doors slide shut, sealing Seth and Li Qiao away from the chaos of the gym. Li Qiao reaches up to brush away the fatigue on Seth's brow, asking about his grueling travel schedule. She looks him in the eye, insisting she could have handled the ambush without him rushing home so recklessly. Seth lifts her chin, his gaze narrowing as he questions the limits of her self-reliance. Li Qiao maintains a calm, innocent expression while noting that her other hand is freezing from the chill. He gently relaxes his grip on her face, his professional mask flickering for just a fleeting moment. Seth advises her to prioritize her health and dress more appropriately for the cold weather. He takes her hand in his to warm it, a gesture that sends her pulse into overdrive. A faint blush creeps onto her cheeks as she realizes the intensity of the moment inside the elevator. Looking up at him with sudden resolve, Li Qiao finally asks for clarity on the nature of their relationship. Seth remains composed, placing the ball back in her court with a piercing question of his own. Boldly taking the lead, she suggests that he should take full responsibility for her well-being from now on. They stand in a heavy silence, the air thick with unspoken expectations between them. Li Qiao begins to pull away, wondering if she pushed the boundary of their professional dynamic too far. Her mind races with doubt, even though his protective actions prove he cares deeply. Suddenly, Seth pulls her into a firm embrace, asserting that certain declarations are a man's duty to make. Wrapped in his arms, she realizes that while they are close, the final hurdle in their relationship hasn't been cleared yet. Seth holds her steady as the elevator continues its ascent, teasingly asking if she's being difficult on purpose. He leans in slightly, assuring her that there is no need to rush their progress as they have plenty of time. The doors chime open and Seth steps back to let her exit the confined space professionally. Back at the residence, Li Qiao sits on the sofa, replaying the entire exchange in her head. She clutches a pillow to her chest, sensing an invisible barrier still standing between their hearts. Her brow furrows as she contemplates what secret could be making him so hesitant to commit. Seth descends the stairs, his movements precise despite his clear exhaustion from the flight. He approaches her in the living room, checking to see if she's recovered from the day's stress. He takes a seat across from her, his formal attire still looking sharp despite the long journey. Li Qiao questions his lack of sleep, worried about the toll his overprotectiveness is taking on his health. She notes the deep weariness in his eyes, a rare sight for the usually invincible leader. Seth closes his eyes momentarily, asking if she has other plans that require her to leave his side. Li Qiao grows flustered, her inner thoughts spiraling over the awkward misunderstanding of her concern. Seth dismissively tells her she's free to leave if her schedule is packed. Li Qiao finds his sudden sulking surprisingly endearing. She stands her ground, clarifying that she never intended to depart. Seth eyes her skeptically, questioning if she truly has no other obligations. She moves in close, assuring him that her time is entirely his. Seth probes into her past, asking if her combat skills came from Lei Cheng. He studies her intently, certain her specialized fighting style points to a hidden history on the border. Li Qiao offers a simple, cryptic confirmation. Seth realizes there are far more layers to her than he initially thought. Sensing his exhaustion, she urges him to rest before he reaches a breaking point. She fakes a yawn, claiming she's the one who needs a nap to coax him into resting. Seth leads her toward a room, unaware of her true intentions. He repeats the instruction for her to get some rest. As he turns to leave, she catches his sleeve to halt his exit. She puts on an act, claiming she's too shaken by recent events to sleep alone. Seth sees right through the performance, but finds himself unable to refuse her. He relents, gently patting her head and agreeing to stay by her side. The two settle in, the tension finally beginning to ebby away. Overcome by fatigue, Seth finally drifts into a deep sleep. Li Qiao carefully makes sure he is comfortable and tucked in. She observes his sleeping face, concerned his stubbornness stems from a deeper psychological condition. Later, she makes a discreet call to request medical records regarding paranoia. She demands a comprehensive file on typical symptoms as soon as possible. Reviewing the data, she compares Seth's traits to clinical paranoid personality disorder. She breathes a sigh of relief, realizing his symptoms aren't at a critical level. A sudden notification dings on her handheld device. An invitation arrives, asking if she wants to grab drinks at Blue Night. Ready for a distraction, she quickly sends back an enthusiastic, "I'm in." The next morning, Li Qiao can't help but let out a long yawn as the exhaustion from her late-night investigation finally catches up to her. Seth enters the room and immediately notices her fatigue, tilting her chin up to inspect her weary face with professional concern. Qiao keeps her explanation brief, admitting that a friend took her out to a bar the previous night. Seth leans in close to check for any lingering scent of alcohol, questioning just how late she stayed out. Qiao feels the weight of his intense gaze as she looks back at him, momentarily caught off guard by his scrutiny. Her internal thoughts race as she tries to maintain her composure under his watchful eye. The moment is abruptly broken when a subordinate knocks on the door to report on the progress of the honker competition. Startled by the sudden interruption, Qiao's eyes go wide as she realizes close they were standing. Seth calmly places a reassuring hand on her head, advising her to take the opportunity to rest. Interested in the event, Qiao asks if she can join him to watch the competition since her brother is a participant. Without hesitation, Seth agrees and prepares to take her to the viewing area. They settle in to watch the high-stakes digital battle, while the subordinate remains nearby to provide updates. The staff member begins to brief Seth on the conclusion of the current round. Seth suddenly raises his hand to silence the subordinate, cutting the report short. He glances down at the young woman beside him, realizing that the quiet environment has lulled her to sleep. To ensure she isn't disturbed, Seth quietly orders his subordinate to leave the room. Even in her dreams, Qiao's subconscious remains focused on her secret identity as the leader of the Honker Alliance. 2 hours pass in silence as she sleeps peacefully, leaning her head against Seth's shoulder. Qiao eventually stirs, slowly opening her eyes as she realizes she has been using Seth as a pillow the entire time. Seth looks down at her with a steady gaze, asking if she is finally finished with her nap. She quickly sits upright, trying to regain her professional demeanor while asking how much longer the event will last. Seth informs her that only 10 minutes remain and checks to see if she needs more rest. He stands up and offers his hand, suggesting they head out to grab a meal. As Qiao attempts to stand, her legs buckle under her from the lack of circulation. She stumbles forward, inadvertently bumping into Seth as she loses her balance. Blushing slightly, she explains that her legs have gone completely numb from sleeping in one position for so long. Seth pragmatically offers to carry her to the dining area, but Qiao insists she can manage on her own. He accepts her answer with a simple nod, waiting for her to regain her footing. The two share a formal meal together in the quiet luxury of the dining hall. Their lunch is interrupted by the sharp chime of a notification coming from Qiao's phone. She checks the screen to find a message from academician Jiang regarding a rare chromosome mutation case at the lab. Qiao stares at the device, realizing that accepting this prestigious medical role would mean leaving her position with Seth. She steals a glance at him, deeply conflicted about how her departure might affect their working relationship. Seth picks up on her sudden change in mood and remarks on her troubled expression. Qiao hesitates, struggling to find the right words to explain the offer she just received. Sensing her hesitation, Seth encourages her to be honest and say whatever is on her mind. She finally gathers her courage, asking him directly how he would feel if she chose to leave the group. Seth's face immediately transforms into a mask of cold displeasure, making his feelings on the matter crystal clear. Li Qiao tries to diffuse the heavy tension at the table with a forced smile, claiming she was only joking about leaving her position. Seth doesn't buy the act for a second, his piercing gaze searching her eyes as he asks if she was truly just kidding. Feeling the weight of his scrutiny, Qiao quickly pivots, insisting that there is no better place to intern than at Envy. Sensing her desperation to change the subject, she notes the perfectly cut steak and playfully asks if he'll handle the carving next time. The icy atmosphere finally begins to thaw as the tension leaves Seth's face and his expression becomes visibly relaxed. A rare, genuine smile touches his lips as he tells her he would be delighted to take care of her. Qiao lets out a silent breath of relief, thankful that she managed to escape his cold fury for the moment. Seth breaks the silence by checking his phone, casually mentioning that her brother secured third place in the Redders tournament. In her mind, Qiao admits she expected Chuck to take the win given how confident he had seemed. As the meal concludes, Seth stands and offers to personally drive her home for the evening. Qiao politely declines the offer, her hand hovering nervously over her chest as she tries to maintain some distance. She walks away into the night, her mind racing with the realization that she desperately needs some alone time to figure out her next move. From the table, Seth watches her hasty retreat, convinced that her sudden exit is a sign she is avoiding a difficult truth. The next day, Seth stares out into a rain-slicked city, brooding over the fact that Qiao called in sick and hasn't messaged him at all. Unable to sit still with the uncertainty, he reaches for his phone to take control of the situation. He pulls at his tie with restless energy, barking orders for his men to tail her and report back on every single thing she does. An hour later, the call comes in with frustrating news. His operative lost her trail after she vanished down a side road. Seth slams his phone onto the desk in a fit of rage, realizing she's actively trying to evade his reach. His face darkens with a chilling resolve, vowing to himself that she won't be able to get rid of him that easily. He delivers a cold, uncompromising command to find her immediately and bring her to the secret room. Even his seasoned subordinate is taken aback by the mention of the secret room, but Seth him exactly 1 hour to complete the task. Meanwhile, Qiao vents her internal frustration on a heavy punching bag, terrified that leaving Envy means she and Everett will eventually drift apart. She pushes her body to the limit, torn between her loyalty to him and the prestigious medical research opportunity. Every heavy strike echoes her internal conflict as she struggles with the weight of her secret ambitions. Sweat pours down her face as she searches for a solution that provides the best of both worlds without a painful sacrifice. She finally stops her workout, panting for air as the gym's buzzer signals the end of her training session. As she begins to unwrap her hands, a sense of unease washes over her. She thought no one knew about this private location. Seth's subordinate suddenly appears in the shadows, informing her that a helicopter is waiting to take her to the boss right now. Qiao is stunned by the extreme urgency, wondering why Seth would go to such lengths to fetch her. She is transported to a dark, rain-drenched forest where Seth is found interrogating a man at gunpoint. Qiao arrives at the scene and freezes, recognizing the captive as the very man responsible for killing Chester. Seth looks down at the trembling man with eyes full of cold, calculating malice, asking him if he's finally feeling afraid. Standing in the pouring rain, Qiao confronts Seth's darkness by asking what he truly fears. Seth's gaze remains cold and unwavering, a silent challenge to her resolve. Without a word, he pulls the trigger, the captive's scream echoing through the woods as he is wounded. Qiao flinches slightly, her hand rising as she witnesses the brutal reality of his world. Seth grips her chin firmly, demanding to know if this display of violence terrifies her. She realizes he is stripping away his mask to see if she can accept his true nature. A small, knowing smile plays on her lips as she confesses her genuine fear. Seth's eyes narrow, searching for any hint of deception in her steady gaze. He begins to believe her, questioning if his ruthlessness has finally pushed her away. Unexpectedly, Qiao reaches out, clutching his shirt to bridge the distance between them. She clarifies that her only fear is his rejection or being made to wait for him. Her voice softens as she admits the dread that their first love might meet a tragic end. He tilts her face upward, his touch firm yet strangely careful. Seth warns her that walking beside a man like him is a literal descent into hell. Unfazed, Qiao declares her willingness to embrace darkness, if it means staying by his side. A subtle, dangerous smirk touches Seth's face at her bold confession. She reaffirms her loyalty, promising never to turn back from the path they've chosen. Looking him in the eye, she asks Shang Shaoyan if he truly wants to be with her. He answers by pulling her into a crushing, possessive embrace amidst the storm. His eyes burn with an obsessive intensity, claiming her entire life as his own. They hold each other tightly, two souls bound together in the shadow of the forest. Seth's hand lingers on her cheek, marking her as his in this moment of dark unity. Seeking refuge from the rain, they return to the warmth of a modern villa. Relaxing in a robe, Seth checks if the night's events truly unsettled her. Qiao vents her frustration over his silent tests of her loyalty and limits. He draws her close, offering a rare promise that such trials are over. Qiao shifts the focus to her medical career, insisting on continuing her internship at the lab. She stands her ground, refusing to be a mere ornament in his life. Recognizing her determination, Seth finally grants his approval for her professional pursuits. A radiant smile breaks across her face at his unexpected support. Overjoyed, she throws her arms around him, praising his newfound kindness. Seth remains stoic, but his focus is entirely fixed on the woman in his arms. Their shared moment of understanding cements a new level of trust in their relationship. He pulls her onto his lap, maintaining a firm but composed hold. Qiao's expression turns soft as she realizes the depth of their connection. The two share a quiet, final moment of closeness as the night draws to an end. Seth leans over Qiao, his gaze intense as they share a quiet, heavy moment on the bed. The proximity between them is electric, though Seth remains focused on her every reaction. Qiao finds herself caught in the moment, her thoughts racing as she looks up at him. Suddenly, Seth pulls back slightly, his brow furrowed with concern as he checks if she is feeling all right. Caught off guard by his sudden shift to caregiver mode, Qiao can only offer a soft, stuttering denial. He notices the slight flush on her skin, his eyes narrowing as he analyzes her physical condition. Seth decides to prioritize her health, firmly instructing her to finish her ginger tea and get some much-needed rest. Left alone for a moment, Qiao sits on the edge of the bed, the weight of the evening finally catching up to her. She touches her lips, reflecting on the complex bond they share and the path they've chosen together. Deep in the shadows of the villa, Seth makes a call to ensure the Rennie labs receive the most advanced medical equipment available. The sunlight hits the sleek, modern exterior of the laboratory where Qiao's future medical career will take place. The next morning, the couple shares a calm breakfast, the tension of the previous night replaced by domestic stability. Qiao listens intently as Seth discusses the logistics of her lab internship over a cup of coffee. Thrilled by his support, she beams at him, playfully declaring that her boyfriend is truly the best. However, her playful mood shifts to worry when she notices something off about his appearance. She leans across the table, pressing her palm against Seth's forehead to check for a rising fever. The digital thermometer confirms her fears, flashing a high reading of 38.2 degrees. Qiao immediately takes charge, scolding the powerful CEO for neglecting his own well-being. Seth allows her to pull him into a protective embrace, finally relenting to her demands to rest. Qiao can't help but smile, finding that the title of girlfriend carries a weight she's beginning to enjoy. She guides him back to bed, insisting that he take a fever reducer and get a good night's sleep. As Seth drinks the medicine she prepared, Qiao questions him about his recurring illness after being out in the rain. He sets the glass down with a heavy thud, his expression unreadable as he faces her medical inquiry. Qiao leans in close, telling him that if he wants to know her secrets, he should just ask her directly. She rests her head against him, eager to peel back the layers of the mysterious man who has finally opened up to her. Her medical intuition kicks in as she gently takes his hand, spotting a distinct cigarette burn on his skin that he tried to hide. Qiao inspects the inflamed mark on Seth's hand, though he brushes it off as a minor scratch. She maintains a firm stance, insisting he prioritizes rest despite his dismissive attitude. Seth yields to her medical expertise, surprising Qiao with his sudden compliance. She stays by his side, determined to monitor his recovery until the fever fully recedes. Qiao encourages him to rest, watching over him as he finally drifts into a quiet sleep. Checking her phone, she finds a barrage of warnings from her brother regarding her choices. She dismisses the nagging texts, privately acknowledging Seth's growing significance in her life. Sunlight fills the room as Qiao rouses from an unplanned nap beside the bed. She collects her thoughts, surprised that she succumbed to exhaustion during her vigil. Seth reaches out, drawing her near with steady, recovered strength. She looks up at him, confirming he is finally conscious and alert. Her palm meets his forehead, noting the skin feels cool and the heat has vanished. To be clinically certain, she prepares the digital thermometer for a final temperature check. The device confirms a healthy 36.8 degrees, signaling a successful recovery. Seth credits her diligent medical care for his quick return to health. Qiao observes the change in his demeanor, noting his uncharacteristically soft tone. They discuss their schedules, with Qiao needing to return home to see her parents. A quiet moment of mutual respect passes between them before they separate for the day. Qiao arrives at her family's grand estate to check in after her absence. She finds her parents waiting in the lounge, their expressions unusually solemn. They observe her with intense curiosity, creating a palpable tension in the living room. Her father cuts to the chase, demanding the truth about her current relationship status. Qiao decides to be honest, confirming that she is indeed seeing someone. They immediately launch into a series of frantic inquiries about her partner's background. She keeps the details private for now, wary of their reaction so soon after her breakup. Excusing herself, Qiao retreats upstairs to her room to avoid further interrogation. Her parents watch her go, their faces clouded with unexplained worry. Alone, she puzzles over their lack of enthusiasm and strange, guarded behavior. A work-related notification from Seth interrupts her thoughts, shifting her focus back to business. He confirms her internship duties for the following morning at the local golf course. They meet the next day, their hands briefly connecting in a professional greeting. Under the bright sun, they prepare to begin their scheduled business meeting together. The enigmatic visitor bids them farewell, leaving the atmosphere thick with unanswered questions about his sudden appearance. Qiao watches him leave, questioning what a man like Mr. Chalais could possibly want in Sijinia. Seth leans in close, dismissively explaining that the man is merely a desperate investor seeking a loan for his family's struggling business. Qiao remains skeptical of his casual tone, even as he suggests a final outing together before her internship officially consumes her time. He brings her to a high-end range, showcasing a collection of rare, discontinued firearms that most people only see at auctions. Qiao wonders why he keeps such a specialized arsenal, while Seth counters by asking if she'll actually have any time for target practice once she joins the institute. He gestures toward the ammunition, giving her full permission to sharpen her skills and fire away for the afternoon. Qiao rises on her tiptoes, reaching out to show her appreciation for his technical guidance and support. She offers a brief gesture of gratitude, catching the stoic CEO off guard with her sudden burst of enthusiasm. Taking her stance, she fires with lethal precision, but the rhythmic sound of the shots triggers a sudden, violent rush of memories. A dark, rain-soaked vision of the past flickers in her mind, echoing with the sound of distant gunfire and chaos. She recalls a blood-stained hand and a desperate, frantic cry for a man named Henry during a moment of crisis. The weight of the trauma makes her hands tremble, the cold steel of the gun feeling suddenly heavier and more dangerous. Seth immediately steps in, his firm grip steadying her hands as he reminds her to stay focused on the present task. Qiao takes a deep, shaky breath, pushing the shadows of her past back into the depths of her mind to regain her composure. To clear the air, Seth challenges her to a competitive match, piquing her interest with the promise of a prize for the winner. A rare, confident smile plays on his lips as he waits for her to accept the terms of the contest. Qiao regains her competitive spirit, warning him that she won't be an easy opponent to beat in a fair test of skill. The range erupts with the rhythmic sound of bullets striking their marks in rapid succession as the duel begins. Both marksmen stand side by side, locked in a display of professional focus and technical mastery. Qiao finally lowers her weapon, begrudgingly admitting that she fell short of his score by a single point. True to her word, she tells him that a bet is a bet and she's ready to honor their agreement whenever he chooses. Seth prepares for a week-long business trip to Palma, ensuring she has everything she needs for her medical research while he is away. He gently cups her face, his gaze softening as he looks at her one last time before his departure. He promises to collect his hard-earned reward the moment he returns, leaving her with a sense of quiet anticipation. The scene shifts to the prestigious Novus Institute, where Kao's demanding internship officially begins in earnest. She meets with Professor Daniel Kang, the head of the institute, who provides a professional overview of her new duties in the lab. Despite the busy environment, she finds her thoughts drifting back to Seth after only 24 hours apart. She gives in to her feelings, sending him a quick message to let him know she's already missing his company. Miles away, the CEO sits in a high-stakes business meeting, his attention immediately diverted by the notification on his phone. His subordinates can't help but notice his shift in mood as he reads the message from his partner, teasing him for his sudden change in demeanor. Eager to return home, he orders his team to compress a full week's worth of work into just 4 days. His assistant quickly complies, knowing better than to stand in the way of the boss's revised personal schedule. Late Friday night, Qiao finally powers down her equipment, exhausted from a long week of intense research at the institute. As she prepares to leave the quiet lab, she looks up with a start, noticing a familiar figure waiting in the shadows. After bidding the professor a polite goodnight, she steps out into the cool evening air to finally head home. She is stunned to find Seth standing there a day early, his presence a welcome surprise in the dim light of the hallway. He greets her with a warm embrace, returning ahead of schedule to claim the prize he won during their shooting match. Seth draws close, his presence filling the space. Qiao looks up, questioning if this reunion is the prize he sought. He pulls her near, declaring her presence his only true reward. Qiao gazes back, her deep exhaustion finally becoming evident. Seth notes her fatigue and recent weight loss with concern. He guides her toward the car, prioritizing her rest. The luxury vehicle waits to whisk them away from the lab. Exhaustion takes over as Qiao falls asleep against him instantly. A sudden, sharp turn interrupts the quiet ride. Qiao stirs slightly against his shoulder in her sleep. Seth watches her with a steady, protective gaze. The driver quickly apologizes for the abrupt maneuver. Seth adjusts her position to ensure she remains comfortable. Qiao remains peacefully unaware of the outside world. He leans down to check on her well-being. Seth holds her hand with unexpected, quiet care. He sternly instructs the driver to focus on the road. Arriving home, he carries her inside without waking her. Seth catches her faking sleep by noticing her fluttering glittering eyelashes. Qiao admits his constant attention made resting impossible. She looks at him with a newfound, focused resolve. Qiao initiates a sincere and gentle greeting of her own. They share a quiet moment of mutual support and affection. The atmosphere remains calm as they reconnect. Seth provides a warm, steady embrace to reassure her. Their focus remains entirely on their long-awaited reunion. Qiao cherishes the simple comfort of his presence. They eventually settle together on the living room sofa. Seth asks if she missed her evening meal while working. Qiao explains she was simply too busy to think of food. She realizes her typical composure has completely dissolved. Seth and Qiao share a quiet meal together after his return. Qiao sips her water and asks exactly when he arrived home. She sets the glass down as the atmosphere softens. Seth questions if her long hours have left her exhausted. He gently cradles her face, his gaze full of concern. Qiao's heart flutters as she realizes the depth of her feelings. They share a tender moment of connection in the dim light. Suddenly, an urgent business call interrupts their peaceful evening. Seth shifts into CEO mode, answering the phone with focus. Qiao finds comfort simply listening to the steady rhythm of his voice. As Seth handles the call, Qiao's heavy eyelids begin to fail her. He instinctively reaches out to catch her head as she nods off. Seth continues the professional discussion while supporting her. He ends the call and looks down at his sleepy companion. Qiao fights her fatigue, wanting to spend every second with him. Seth insists she rest, noting she shouldn't sacrifice her health. He promises to stay by her side until she drifts off. Overwhelmed by his care, Qiao pulls him into a grateful embrace. Seth guides her to prepare for bed, ensuring she feels safe. Warm water splashes against the tile during her refreshing shower. She steps out, feeling much lighter after the long day. Seth waits patiently, having already changed into his robe. His expression remains soft and welcoming as she approaches. Qiao enters the room, ready to finally get some rest. Seth gestures for her to join him, offering a place of comfort. Outside, the city falls silent under the glow of the night. They settle in together, the tension of the internship finally fading. Seth watches over her, his hand resting gently on her hair. Qiao finally falls into a deep, much-needed slumber. The room remains peaceful as the couple rests through the night. The moon shines brightly above their quiet home. Morning arrives, casting a bright light over the serene poolside. The silence is broken by a persistent call from Qiao's father. She groggily reaches for her phone to answer the early summons. With a sleepy voice, she greets her concerned parent. Qiao claims she stayed at the dorm to avoid causing worry. She notes her parents' growing anxiety regarding her well-being. Seth reaches out, his presence a steady anchor for her. He pulls her close, playfully asking about her dorm roommate. As the morning sun filters through the window, Seth leans in close, finding the peaceful start to the day surprisingly pleasant. Qiao looks up at him with a skeptical gaze, questioning if "not bad" is really the best description he can offer. She reminds him that she wasn't even supposed to have a roommate, wondering why he didn't just leave while she was sound asleep. Seth reveals the real reason for his stay, showing how her hand remained firmly locked onto his arm throughout the night. He explains that because she refused to let go, he was physically unable to make his exit. With a playful smirk, he admits he simply had no choice but to stay by her side. Qiao stares at him in disbelief, asking for confirmation if she truly acted that clingy. She can only imagine a miniature version of herself glued to him like a koala during her deep slumber. Shaking off the morning daze, Qiao sits up and firmly announces it is time to get to the lab. Seth watches her go, privately noting how adorable her professional determination looks. Later at the experimental building, Qiao presents a critical lab analysis regarding arsenic mutations found in a patient. Her supervisor praises her efficiency since joining the team, but suggests she move into the dorms to avoid the exhausting commute. Qiao smiles, confirming she has already packed her things and plans to move in later that day. Once alone in the lab, she pulls out her phone, realizing she needs to update Seth on her change of location. She carefully drafts a text, quickly retracting a message when she worries her choice of words was far too casual. Qiao stares at the screen in confusion, wondering why Seth is suddenly being so incredibly inquisitive about a simple typo. Her heart skips a beat as she realizes he definitely saw the word baby before she could delete it. Flustered, she looks at her phone, hoping she can play it off coolly. She sends a quick follow-up, admitting she wasn't sure he would be comfortable with such a familiar nickname. In the middle of a corporate office, Seth abruptly dismisses his assistant to focus on the more important conversation on his screen. The assistant leaves with a puzzled look, wondering what could be more important than the finalized proposal. Back at the lab, Qiao decides to be direct, sending a message stating she is simply thinking of him. Seth views the text with a soft expression, asking what her plans are for the evening. As she exits the building, her senior colleague, Li Qiao, intercepts her and suggests they head toward the dorms together. Qiao politely declines at first, intending to just head back and rest. Lion persists, offering to grab her a light meal since she hasn't eaten during her long shift. Remembering how much he has helped her with her recent projects, Qiao decides it would be rude to refuse a quick dinner. Lian's face lights up with a bright smile, clearly pleased that she agreed to join him. The pair walks through the quiet, darkened campus grounds as the stars begin to emerge. A sleek black car sits parked near the sidewalk, watching as the two colleagues cross the street. They maintain a professional pace, discussing lab work as they approach the housing area. Reaching the entrance, Lion offers a polite wave and bids her a good night. Qiao heads up the stairs, exhausted and ready to finally end her long day. However, a familiar figure waiting in the shadows of the hallway catches her off guard. She freezes in place, her eyes widening as she spots Seth standing there in his formal attire. Seth stands with his arms crossed, his silent gaze carrying a heavy weight of interrogation. Qiao can sense the immediate shift in the atmosphere. Realizing he looks genuinely bothered, she steps closer, noting the jealous edge in his voice as he questions if he's interrupting her evening. Qiao offers a reassuring smile, gently reaching out to calm his sudden frustration. She takes his hand firmly, suggesting they take the conversation inside to avoid making a scene. Leading the way, she realizes she'll have to put in some effort to soothe the ego of her angry partner. They enter the dim room, the quiet of the dormitory surrounding them. Qiao reaches for the wall, intending to turn on the lights so they can talk properly. Before she can flip the switch, Seth pulls her into a sudden, protective embrace, making it clear he isn't finished with her just yet. Seth initiates a firm, assertive greeting to express his overwhelming presence. Their connection deepens as he maintains steady, close contact to bridge the distance. He applies a bit of pressure, showing the intensity of his current protective mood. The room falls silent as they remain locked in this intense emotional exchange, their fingers interlaced tightly, grounding them both in the moment. Qiao senses his underlying vulnerability through his persistent closeness. He slowly draws back, his gaze searching hers for honest answers. They stand together in the quiet room, the tension finally beginning to thaw. He leans in again, seeking reassurance in her familiar presence. Qiao remains still, processing the weight of his uncharacteristic behavior. They share another brief, firm moment of contact to reaffirm their bond. Seth rests his head on her, finally letting his guard down completely. He breaks the silence, demanding to know the identity of the man she was with. His hands grip her shoulders as he questions her decision to dine with a stranger. Qiao realizes that his anger is fueled by a deep sense of insecurity. He gently lifts her chin, forcing her to meet his intense, questioning stare. He bluntly asks if she harbors any feelings for her research colleague. Even in his frustration, his possessiveness shows a softer, protective side. Qiao places a steadying hand on his chest to calm his racing heart. She clarifies that her interaction with Lei and Zhen was strictly professional. Seth listens intently, weighing her explanation against his own doubts. She adds that the colleague already has a partner, diffusing the situation further. His gaze softens as the misunderstanding is finally cleared up. Regaining his composure, he advises her to get some rest early. He reaches for the door handle, prepared to give her space. His hand settles on the latch, signaling the end of their confrontation. Qiao quickly grabs his arm, unwilling to let him leave while upset. She points out a small injury to her lip to keep him nearby. Seth immediately turns back, his focus shifting to her physical well-being. He examines the small cut with serious, clinical concern. He offers to send for medical supplies to treat the minor wound. Qiao notices the drink he brought, realizing he waited for hours. They sit on the couch together to talk things through properly. Seth admits he arrived early to her she didn't skip dinner. Qiao stands and invites him to join her for a proper meal. He looks up at her, surprised by her warm, forgiving invitation. She reaches out her hand, offering a gesture of reconciliation. Their hands meet, sealing their new mutual understanding. Instead of walking, he suddenly lifts her up to carry her. A rare, gentle smile crosses his face, showing his relieved mood. Qiao looks at him with affection, glad the conflict has ended. Seth reflects on how Li Qiao remains by his side, offering comfort even after their intense confrontation. Qiao wraps her arms around him, softly asking if he's decided to stay for good instead of leaving in a rage. Seth closes his eyes and leans into her, finally finding a sense of peace he hasn't felt in a long time. He leans in close to her ear, promising to give her the world as long as their trust remains unbroken. With the tension finally dissolved, the two prepare to head out for a long-overdue dinner together. As they settle in at the restaurant, a stray strand of Qiao's hair gets snagged on the button of her outfit. Seth notices the small mishap immediately and reaches out to carefully free the tangled lock. He gently tilts her chin up, maintaining a strictly professional focus on the delicate task at hand. Qiao looks up at him, momentarily breathless by his sudden proximity and focused, steady gaze. She finds herself caught off guard by just how striking and composed he looks in the dim restaurant light. Her heart begins to race as she struggles to keep her cool while he works to fix her hair. Her eyes briefly wander toward the sharp lines of his collarbone, noting his effortless and perfect style. In a moment of distraction, she can't help but reach out as if to confirm he's actually standing there. Seth catches her hands midair, a playful but curious expression crossing his face as he questions her. Panicked at being caught staring, Qiao quickly makes up a silly excuse about brushing away some imaginary ash. Seth points out the obvious flaw in her logic, noting he hasn't smoked a single cigarette all evening. She can only offer a sheepish grin, realizing she's been caught in a harmless but embarrassing lie. Seth tells her to focus on eating first, promising more time for her curiosities once they get back home. Qiao quickly rings the service bell to summon the waiter and escape the weight of his intense gaze. She tries to look anywhere but at him, her cheeks still flushed with a bright, undeniable glow. To change the subject, she pulls up a photo of the goddess of stocks on her phone to ask for his opinion. Seth places his hand firmly over hers on the table, grounding her as they look at the screen together. He gives a blunt and immediate no to the idea that she and the woman in the photo look alike. Qiao is taken aback by his absolute certainty. wondering why he's so quick to dismiss the physical similarities. She takes a bite of her food, still pondering if there is a secret connection between her and this legendary figure. Seth leans in even closer to her face, his presence becoming nearly overwhelming as he watches her eat. Qiao freezes in place, her heart hammering against her ribs once again as their eyes lock. He softly asks what is really going on inside her head to make her so distracted. He sets his glass down with a precise click, waiting for her to give him an honest answer. Qiao explains her deep interest in the figure and her frustration over a privately held, rare autobiography. Seth cups her face gently and promises that if she wants the book, he will personally track it down for her. 1 week later, Seth presents Qiao with a staggering bill for the rare acquisition he managed to secure. He hands over the documents, insisting that no price is too high when it comes to supporting her interests. Qiao stares at the astronomical figure on the paper, wondering if the purchase was a bit too excessive. Seth remains perfectly composed, clearly unbothered by the massive financial investment he just made. Qiao points out that the handwriting is an ancient, obsolete script that is nearly impossible for anyone to read. Seth examines the complex text intently, recognizing the technical difficulty of translating such a rare piece. He assures her that finding a qualified translator is a minor hurdle he can easily clear for her. Exhausted from a long day at the lab, Qiao lets out a tired yawn and prepares to head to bed. His assistant suddenly enters the room with urgent news regarding the true identity of the book's collector. The revelation that the family head was the one who traded the book leaves Seth stunned and suspicious. His phone begins to buzz, and he sees a direct incoming call from his father on the screen. After a cryptic conversation, Seth realizes that the path to Qiao's true background leads directly to Parma. Isaac informs Chiara that the team found a medical alternative. Chiara is skeptical of the rapid 1-month development process. Isaac attributes the progress to a partnership with the EVI group. Hearing Seth's company is involved leaves Chiara stunned. She struggles to reconcile Seth's secret professional backing. Isaac notices Chiara looks physically drained and worried. Chiara blames a headache and leaves for a dormitory. She gratefully accepts Isaac's offer to handle the remaining work. Chiara returns home, barely able to keep her eyes open. An ignored smartphone buzzes incessantly on the bed sheets. She collapses into a deep, much-needed sleep. 5 hours pass before she finally begins to wake. Disoriented, she realizes she has slept through the day. A sudden, sharp noise nearby triggers her survival instincts. She panics, realizing an intruder is inside her room. A hand reaches out and snaps the lights on. Seth looms in the doorway with a stern, unyielding look. Chiara is paralyzed with shock at his sudden appearance. Seth questions if she was expecting a different visitor. He demands an explanation for her radio silence. Chiara discovers nearly 90 missed calls from him. She explains that her health forced her to sleep. Seth closes the distance, exerting his dominant presence. He issues a harsh ultimatum regarding her career path. Chiara is stunned by his intense, controlling behavior. She realizes his anger is fueled by his deep attachment. Seth pressures her for a final answer to his demand. She notices he hasn't changed his clothes for days. Chiara chooses Seth, ending the conflict with a firm commitment. Chiara studies Seth's face, surprised by how easily he is pacified once she agrees to his terms. Seth takes charge, lifting her into his arms while ordering his staff to retrieve her belongings from the lab. He sternly informs her that he has cleared her schedule for 3 days of mandatory rest. Leaning in, he describes this forced break as a necessary compromise for her health. Chiara looks up at him, questioning why he waited until this moment to reveal his plan. He stares back with an intense gaze, declaring she isn't permitted to leave until she is fully recovered. She offers a playful, mock salute to show she's finally ready to follow his lead. Seth carries her through the spacious, modern living area to ensure she gets to bed. As he helps her settle in, she tries to convince him she's merely tired, not actually ill. A sudden phone call from her father breaks the quiet atmosphere of the room. Her father insists she attend a prestigious summit this weekend to begin networking with business elites. She stares at her phone in shock after her dad abruptly ends the call. Seth catches her distracted expression and asks what has her looking so troubled. A frantic text message warns her that this supposed business summit is actually a matchmaking event. The news causes her to choke on her drink, prompting Seth to quickly steady her. He searches her eyes, suspicious that she is hiding something about her weekend plans. Seth pulls her close, demanding she be honest about why she is acting so guilty. He maintains a firm, protective hold to ensure she understands he won't be ignored. Chiara reacts to the sudden intensity of his focus as he waits for her answer. The scene shifts to a grand, gold-accented ballroom where the elite summit is underway. Standing in the hall, Chiara reflects on the exhaustion following her long night of discussions. Her mother appears, urging her to move into the crowd and meet the eligible bachelors. Georgina rushes over, greeting her with a warm embrace amidst the formal setting. The distinguished Larry Tang makes his entrance, signaling the start of the high-stakes networking. The group gathers together as the evening's formal events officially begin. Socialites whisper about Chiara's rare appearance after her parents kept her hidden for years. Across the room, a man named Ryan Jing watches her with a calculating look. The elite guests at the VIP table assume the elusive Mr. Rhett will snub their invitation once again, as he does every year. Suddenly, a frantic attendant bursts into the room with a look of pure shock on his face. The announcement that the most powerful man in the industry has actually arrived leaves the hosts completely speechless. Seth Rhett's strides into the hall with an aura of absolute authority, offering a chillingly polite apology for keeping everyone waiting. Chiara freezes in place, her heart dropping as she realizes her secret gala attendance has just been compromised by the one person she was hiding it from. Seth smoothly plays off his appearance as a casual drop-in, leaving the groveling hosts no choice but to offer him the seat of honor. He casts a sharp side-eye toward Chiara, noting her desperate attempt to avoid eye contact with a mix of amusement and irritation. The elites raise their glasses in a tense toast, celebrating the unexpected prestige Seth brings to their table. Seizing a moment of distraction, a bold socialite approaches Chiara to ask for her personal phone number. Seth immediately cuts in with a cold, possessive tone, demanding to know if Chiara is truly available for such requests. Chiara stammers a response while the suitor begins to realize he has just stepped into the crosshairs of a very dangerous man. Seth's gaze remains fixed on her, his expression unreadable but his message loud and clear. When a hostess attempts to redirect his attention with a guided tour, Seth shuts her down instantly, making it clear his only interest is Miss Li. The woman is left stunned, realizing she's just been dismissed by the most influential man in the room. Cornered by his intense focus, Chiara has no choice but to agree to lead him away from the prying eyes of the crowd. She leads the way with a professional gesture, desperate to escape the suffocating atmosphere of the main hall. Once they reach the secluded gardens, Chiara demands to know why he showed up without a single word of warning. Seth reveals a hidden rose, admitting that he preferred the element of surprise over a formal heads-up. He carefully tucks the flower into her hair, his movements precise and calculated as he maintains his close proximity. Chiara searches his eyes for a reaction to her appearance, only for him to confirm she looks absolutely gorgeous. In the quiet of the garden, they share a private moment of reconciliation, momentarily forgetting the chaos of the gala. They move to a nearby bench to discuss their next steps, maintaining a close but strictly focused coordination on their shared goals. Seth leans in to emphasize the importance of their partnership, ensuring Chiara understands the weight of the situation. He looms over her with an intense focus, his gaze signaling that he isn't finished with their discussion just yet. The tension in the air is palpable as Chiara struggles to maintain her professional composure under his scrutiny. Seth leans in closer to deliver a final, quiet instruction regarding the evening's protocol. The closeness of their interaction highlights just how deeply their professional and personal lives have become intertwined. Chiara lets out a soft breath, overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of the man standing before her. The moment is abruptly broken when an assistant nervously interrupts to announce the start of the official meeting. Seth pauses, his irritation at the poor timing visible even in his most subtle movements. He shoots the assistant a look so sharp it sends the poor man into a state of pure panic. As they return to the main event, Chiara notices a colleague watching them from the shadows with a suspicious eye. The observer confronts her about the rumors circulating the room, questioning her sudden closeness with the CEO. Chiara keeps her expression neutral, warning him to stay silent since their official status hasn't been made public yet. The revelation leaves the man completely flabbergasted, his mind racing to process the power shift he just witnessed. Ryan leans in, asking if Seth is forcing Chiara into this relationship. Chiara shuts down the doubt, declaring her intent to marry him one day. Ryan fumes in the background, cursing Everett's sheer luck. Seth catches the gaze, sensing the socialite's growing frustration. To keep appearances, Chiara offers a hollow toast to world peace. A text arrives from Seth, daring her to sneak out and meet him. Chiara flushes, her heart racing at the bold invitation. Night settles over the mansion, cloaking her planned escape. She checks her messages again, worried that Seth hasn't arrived as promised. Anxiety spikes when her call to him fails to connect. Stepping outside, Chiara finally receives a call from his associate. Reese claims Seth is heading back to Palma, but something feels off. Chiara ends the call, the silence of the night feeling heavy. She knows it's a lie and senses Seth is in real danger. The radio reports a sudden mountain road closure due to seismic activity. Chiara realizes the timing is too perfect to be an accident. She grips the wheel, spinning the car around in a desperate rush. The SUV tears down the road toward the restricted mountain zone. From a distance, Chiara's departure is monitored through binoculars. Reese watches from a balcony, hoping to keep Chiara away from the chaos. She briefs her team on the 20 mercenaries and snipers lying in wait. The threat is the Night Syndicate, a group known for extreme violence. It's confirmed that Logan is currently on site with Seth. Chiara reaches the blockade, finding the road destroyed by explosions. She smells gunpowder, confirming the seismic activity was a cover-up. Scanning the perimeter, she decides to cut through the dense woods. She stops cold, spotting a hidden figure through the foliage. A masked sniper reports to his lead that the perimeter is secure. Chiara moves like a shadow, catching the operative by surprise. Her eyes harden as she realizes the hitmen are closing in on Seth. The mountain silence is shattered as high-caliber rounds tear through the air, slamming into the armored transport. Through the cracked windshield, a menacing figure looms with a rifle in hand, waiting for his prey to emerge. Lionel Yun, the ruthless second-in-command of the mercenaries, smirks with lethal patience as he leans against his weapon. Inside the vehicle, Seth's assistant reports that their own men are already moving to neutralize the threats. Suddenly, a sharp notification chime breaks the tension within the cabin. Seth's eyes widen in shock as he reads a text from Chiara, claiming she's already handled every sniper in the area. Realizing the tide has turned, Seth stares out the tinted glass and authoritatively demands the door be opened. His associate hesitates, worried that stepping out into the open is still far too dangerous. As the door swings wide, the team is stunned to see Chiara herself emerging from the dense tree line. Seth's polished shoe hits the asphalt as he steps out to personally face his would-be assassin. He walks directly toward the mercenaries, his presence commanding the entire mountain pass. Before Lionel can react, Chiara appears like a ghost behind him, pressing a cold barrel against the back of his skull. Seth watches her, his heart heavy with the realization that his plan to keep her out of harm's way has completely failed. Nearby, Logan admits they were simply waiting for the perfect moment to spring this counter-trap. Within seconds, Seth's security detail swarms the area, disarming the remaining hostiles and taking them into custody. With the immediate threat neutralized, Seth approaches Chiara, his cold exterior finally beginning to thaw. He pulls her into a firm embrace as she leans into him, the exhaustion of the rescue mission finally catching up. Seth holds her close, relieved beyond words that she survived her reckless gamble. Looking up at him, Chiara demands to know why his phone was unreachable during the entire crisis. In a rare moment of levity, she accuses him of ignoring her, while he tries to explain the technicalities of the signal block. Seth reveals that he secretly had Logan install an anti-jamming chip in her phone for this exact scenario. They stand together on the road, the danger of the ambush replaced by the weight of their shared secrets. Chiara warns him never to hide the truth from her again, even as he draws closer to show his appreciation for her help. He offers a soft word of thanks, acknowledging her strength and his own miscalculation. Seth then turns his attention back to the captive, ordering the signal jammer to be deactivated immediately. Lionel stares in horror at a phone on the ground as he hears his own headquarters reporting a total collapse. The mercenary's face contorts with rage as he realizes Seth wasn't just surviving, he was stalling for time. Lionel tries to break free in a desperate, final act of violence, but Seth's guards hold him firmly in his place. Chiara begins a thorough medical inspection, tracing her hands along Seth's shirt to ensure he wasn't hit during the chaos. Seth pulls her closer, insisting she check again as he maintains a steady, focused gaze on her. After a careful look, Chiara concludes that he hasn't suffered any physical injuries from the skirmish. Seth leans into her, playfully claiming he might have internal bleeding to keep her attention fixed on him. Chiara feels her cheeks flush as she realizes just how fast his heart is racing against her hand. Seth dramatically suggests his condition is incurable, leaving Chiara puzzled by his sudden shift in tone. She looks up at him with wide, blushing eyes, completely caught off guard by his lighthearted flirting. Seth whispers that she is the only cure he needs, closing the distance between them in a moment of pure sincerity. The two share a quiet, tender embrace, the tension of the previous battle finally fading away. A soft, gentle moment passes as they find solace in each other's presence after the night's narrow escape. Looking her in the eyes, Seth makes her promise never to put herself in such a dangerous position again. As the conversation turns serious, Seth reveals the true mastermind behind the hit: Ophelia Shang, the ambitious head of the Shang branch family. He explains that Ophelia has been ruthlessly expanding her influence to secure her position as the sole heir. Her plan was to eliminate Seth to clear her path to power, but the failure of the mercenaries will now make her liable for the fallout. Chiara shifts the focus to the captured leader, asking Seth if he can find it in himself to set Lionel free. Surprised by the request, Seth's expression hardens as he questions how she could possibly know a man like Lionel. A wave of jealousy hits Seth as he demands to know exactly how long she's been in contact with another man. Chiara calmly explains that she met Lionel's brother, Louis, at the border 8 years ago and they haven't spoken in years. Seeing her honesty, Seth's jealousy softens, and he agrees to have Lionel released the following day. He pulls her into a protective hug, realizing that Ophelia now views Chiara as a target that must be neutralized. Holding her close, Seth silently vows that he will never let anything happen to her, no matter the cost. 5 days later, Chiara is called to the conference room to meet with a high-profile new investor. She pushes the door open, only to be met by a familiar face from her past waiting in the shadows. It's Louis, the former mercenary leader, who demands an explanation for her 3-year disappearance. Without a word, Chiara delivers a lightning-fast kick, testing his reflexes in a sudden show of force. Louis catches her leg with ease, grinning as he realizes she hasn't lost any of her combat edge. The two engage in a brief, professional spar to re-establish their old rhythm as comrades. Chiara intentionally leaves an opening, a silent gesture of peace that Louis immediately recognizes. Louis laughs, noting that she's still the same fiery girl he remembers from their days at the border. He pulls her into a friendly, brotherly hug, relieved to see that his old friend is safe and well. The two head out together, Louis mentioning he's starving and eager to catch up over a meal. As they walk, Louis mentions that Lionel told him she's been getting quite close with a man named Everett. Chiara stops in her tracks, her eyes widening as she spots a very familiar and very angry figure nearby. Seth stands in the hallway, looking sharp in his suit but radiating pure fury at the sight of Chiara with another man. Louis stands tall and composed, greeting the CEO by his true name while keeping a protective hand on Chiara. His gaze hardens as he realizes exactly who he is dealing with in this tense reunion. Seth's eyes narrow with lethal intent as he commands Louis to take his hands off of her immediately. Confused by the sudden exposure, Lewis wonders how Seth could possibly know his real identity when he's lived under a fake name for years. Seth storms toward the pair, demanding to know what Chiara thinks she's doing with this man. Chiara looks up at him with a mix of surprise and defiance, questioning why he suddenly appeared at this hour. Seth leans in close with possessive intensity, dismissing any notion of jealousy while keeping his focus entirely on her. Lewis watches their intimate interaction from the side, his annoyance growing as he realizes how close they've become. Suddenly, Chiara winces in discomfort, clutching her shoulder as a sharp pain flares up. Seth's aggressive demeanor shifts to instant concern as he asks if he was the one who hurt her. She quickly offers a white lie about bumping into a door frame, desperate to prevent a physical confrontation between the two men. The rivals share a chilling look of mutual loathing while Chiara tries to diffuse the situation by inviting Seth to join them for lunch. Sensing the thick tension, Chiara tells them both to stop gawking and leads the way out of the building. The atmosphere at the restaurant is suffocatingly heavy as the three sit down for a meal that feels like a tactical briefing. Lewis attempts a small gesture of care, using his chopsticks to offer Chiara a piece of her favorite shrimp. Seth doesn't hesitate for a second, swiftly swapping her plate and pushing a portion of meat toward her instead. He coldly instructs her not to eat the shrimp, using a flimsy excuse about it being out of season to assert his control. Caught in the middle of their childish power struggle, Chiara can only look on in exhaustion. Needing a break from the suffocating ego clash, she stands up and excuses herself to the bathroom. As soon as she departs, the facade of a peaceful lunch vanishes into thin air. Lewis wastes no time, confronting Seth about the raid on his headquarters and his involvement with Chiara. He stands up aggressively, demanding to know how Seth dares to pursue her after everything that's happened. The mercenary's mind races with memories of his 5-year history with her, refusing to let an elite CEO like Everett take her away. Seth remains chillingly calm, staring down the barrel of the situation and daring Lewis to actually pull the trigger. Consumed by rage and the desire to return things to the way they were, Lewis draws his handgun and aims it directly at Seth's head. Chiara returns from the hallway only to find the lunch meeting has turned into a life-or-death standoff. Her heart stops as she realizes how close they are to a fatal mistake. Moving with the reflexes of a seasoned protector, she lunges forward and grips the barrel of the weapon. Chiara stares Lewis down with a look of iron resolve, making it clear that if he wants to kill Seth, he'll have to go through her first. Lewis lowers his weapon, admitting defeat in this heated standoff. He takes a seat, claiming the threat was merely intimidation tactic. Chiara snaps at him, frustrated by his reckless behavior with a firearm. Lewis checks a notification on his phone, his expression shifting to business. He excuses himself from the table to handle an urgent matter. Outside, he realizes he has lost his chance to win her back. Chiara reads his departure text, feeling a sense of closure. Seth checks if she has finished her meal now that they are alone. He takes her hand, leading her away to find medical treatment. Seth prepares a first aid kit to examine her hidden injury. He offers to assist her with removing her jacket for the inspection. Chiara prepares to show him the bruise on her shoulder. She notices Seth's lingering anger and tries to comfort him. A playful idea strikes her to lighten the heavy mood. She offers a supportive peck on the cheek to break the tension. Chiara stays close, focused on softening his stern expression. Seth asks if she is using this affection to shield Lewis. He leans in, his frustration finally starting to fade away. Chiara reacts as the reality of the moment sets in. Seth pulls back, remembering her shoulder needs immediate care. Later, they discuss traveling to Palma to translate historical memoirs. Chiara looks forward to her upcoming graduation and finishing her lab work. At the ceremony, students notice a handsome man in the audience. Seth enters the auditorium, drawing everyone's attention as a VIP. Chiara spots him from her seat, surprised by his arrival. Her classmates gossip about the high-profile visitor in the front. She wonders if he truly has ties to her university. The realization hits that he is there specifically for her. The graduates are called to the stage for the ceremony. Seth pulls out his phone to capture a professional photo. Chiara stands tall, feeling his support as she officially graduates. A bold student interrupts the graduation ceremony, publicly begging Chiara to be his girlfriend in front of the entire crowd. Seth watches the spectacle from the sidelines, his expression unreadable as he observes the sudden competition. Chiara doesn't even slow down, walking straight past her stunned classmate without offering him a second glance. A faint, knowing smirk plays on Seth's lips as he realizes exactly where her loyalty lies. To the shock of the entire student body, Chiara marches directly toward the mysterious VIP guest. She stops inches away from Seth, confirming to everyone watching that there is only one man she truly sees. Seth pulls her close, coldly informing the rejected suitor that he never stood a chance against him. The surrounding graduates can hardly believe the cinematic plot unfolding right before their eyes. Hand in hand, the power couple exits the hall, leaving a trail of whispers and envy in their wake. Outside by the car, they seal their unwavering commitment to one another with a profound moment of devotion. Seth holds her tight, as if shielding her from the rest of the world within his protective embrace. In this quiet moment, all the noise of the graduation ceremony fades away, leaving only their shared bond. Seth delivers a firm, possessive decree, making it clear that she can only ever belong to him. They pull back just enough to lock eyes, the intensity of their mutual respect and professional focus clear. Seth's protective nature is on full display as he maintains his hold, reinforcing his role as her primary supporter. This final gesture of unity marks the end of her student life and the beginning of their shared future. Upon arriving in Palma, the legendary Uncle Shang greets Chiara with a welcoming yet piercing gaze. Chiara presents a rare agate mortar and pestle, a thoughtful gift that immediately earns the elder's respect. She accepts his hospitality with a grace that proves she is more than capable of handling high-stakes meetings. Moving straight to business, Chiara presents a mysterious document she brought all the way from home. She asks for his expert help in translating an ancient autobiography written in a complex, forgotten Palma script. Seth watches the exchange intently, noticing how his father carefully scrutinizes every word Chiara speaks. Uncle Shang takes the book into his hands, insisting on studying its contents in private before giving a final answer. Seth finds it suspicious that a master of the script would need extra time to read a single volume. As she sips her tea, Chiara senses that the elder might be intentionally stalling for a reason she hasn't yet uncovered. Sensing the brewing tension, Uncle Shang politely dismisses Chiara so he can speak with his son in private. Chiara exits the room with poise, leaving the two men alone to discuss the true nature of her presence in the family. Alone at last, the patriarch demands to know Seth's true intentions regarding the young researcher. Seth doesn't hesitate, declaring that Chiara will be the next matriarch to lead the prestigious Shang family. The unexpected declaration leaves the observers stunned by the sheer weight and finality of Seth's decision. To everyone's surprise, Uncle Shang approves of the match and encourages Seth to take her for a walk. Their luxury car winds through the scenic roads of Palma, as they finally leave the heavy atmosphere of the mansion. Inside the vehicle, Chiara admits that she felt a hidden meaning behind every word the elder spoke. As they speed away into the distance, it's clear that their journey in Palma is only just beginning. A sudden impact sends the car reeling, forcing Seth to shield Chiara as the vehicle grinds to a halt. Seth's eyes narrow with irritation, frustrated that trouble has found them the moment they've returned to the city. Surveying the tight surroundings, Chiara warns that the narrow road leaves them vulnerable to another calculated strike. Seth maintains his composure, instructing her to wait for the perfect opening to execute a high-stakes U-turn. Once the dust settles and they find safety, Chiara immediately insists on inspecting the wreckage of the attacking vehicle. As they approach the debris, Seth acknowledges that her quick thinking just saved their lives once again. Chiara offers a humble, focused smile, prioritizing the investigation over the praise. Seth peers through the shattered windows only to find the driver's seat completely empty. He explains that the car was a custom build, meticulously assembled with untraceable parts to wipe any record of its history. Chiara isn't deterred, using her technical expertise to track the rare model despite the attempted obfuscation. She discovers a digital footprint linking the purchase to the Shang name, confirming an internal threat from a branch family. Seth places a steadying hand on her, providing a moment of silent support amidst the chaos. He looks at her with genuine awe, wondering if there is any challenge his future matriarch cannot overcome. The two share a brief, silent moment of connection to solidify their partnership before the next move. The pair stands together by the roadside as a secondary vehicle arrives on the scene. Logan pulls up beside them, offering a polite apology for interrupting their discussion. Chiara shifts her attention to the new arrival, quickly refocusing on the logistical needs of the situation. Seth gently reassures her, promising to handle the cleanup while she heads back to safety with Logan. During the drive, Chiara's eyes widen in alarm, and she frantically orders Logan to pull the car over. She shows Logan her screen, her expression darkening as a new, more personal threat emerges. The phone displays a terrifying video of Miss Tang, bound and weeping in a desolate location. They quickly identify the backdrop as an abandoned military base near the border, a perfect spot for an ambush. Chiara realizes the kidnappers have deployed signal jammers, confirming that Guinea is being used as bait to lure her into a trap. A cold, lethal determination settles in Chiara's gaze as she vows that no harm will come to her friend. 1 hour later, Chiara and Logan cautiously navigate the skeletal remains of the massive industrial warehouse. In the center of the room, they find Guinea gagged and bound to a wheelchair, a live explosive strapped to her arm. The sight of the ticking device sends a jolt of pure horror through Chiara. A shadow emerges from the darkness as a familiar face steps forward to greet her with a chilling smile. Chiara is stunned to recognize the man as William, someone she previously knew only as a simple bartender. She realizes the truth instantly, her eyes narrowing as she calls him out for being a member of the Shang family. William admits his lineage, explaining that his branch of the family was ruined by Seth, leaving him with nothing but a thirst for vengeance. He looms over the terrified Guinea, relishing the leverage he holds over Chiara's heart. Logan steps forward defensively, demanding that the traitor keep his hands off the hostage. William issues a sadistic ultimatum. If Chiara wants Guinea to live, she must hand over Seth to face his judgment. Facing down her captor, Chiara stands her ground with a defiant challenge. She watches closely as William checks his device, realization dawning that she's being tracked. A quick glance at the screen confirms her suspicions, showing a high-tech GPS tracker pinpointing her every move. William smirks, boasting that his long-term scheme is finally coming to fruition. Chiara's expression turns icy as she warns him that involving her friend was a fatal mistake. Without another word, she lunges forward to close the distance between them. William scoffs at her attempt, confident that he can easily overpower her in a physical struggle. Her gaze sharpens with lethal intent as she prepares to prove him wrong. With a sickening crunch, she grabs his arm and expertly applies pressure to his joints. Chiara uses his own momentum against him, sending the traitor crashing into the dirt with a powerful throw. She pins him to the ground with the heel of her shoe, showing no mercy to the man who threatened her circle. Looming over him like a judge, she demands that he release Ginny immediately. Sensing his defeat, William desperately reaches for the detonator remote nearby. He looks up with a crazed expression, declaring he's willing to die just to see his enemies suffer. His finger hovers over the trigger, ready to end everything in a final blast. Chiara reacts instantly, stomping down on his wrist to neutralize the threat before he can press the button. She stands tall over her fallen enemy, maintaining total dominance over the battlefield. The sound of thundering rotors fills the air as a helicopter descends upon the warehouse. Seth emerges from the aircraft, his presence commanding the attention of everyone on site. He strides forward with a grim focus, his eyes locked on the woman he came to save. Chiara looks up, her stoic mask flickering for a split second at the sight of her partner. Seth reaches her side, his gaze sweeping over her to ensure she hasn't been harmed. He places a steadying hand on her as they stand together against the remaining chaos. The two share a brief, grounding embrace to acknowledge their survival. Seth leans in close, confirming her status with professional concern amidst the wreckage. Chiara assures him she is perfectly fine and ready to finish the job. From the ground, William lets out a frantic laugh, revealing that the bomb is rigged with a backup timer. Seth's security detail moves in swiftly to secure the perimeter and detain the conspirators. Logan rushes to the captive Ginny, his face pale as he sees the seconds ticking away on the explosive. Chiara takes charge of the crisis, calling for the specialized bomb disposal equipment. Ginny whimpers behind the tape, her eyes wide with terror as the threat looms. Chiara moves in with surgical precision, beginning the delicate process of analyzing the bomb's circuitry. She offers a brief, comforting gesture to her friend, promising her that the danger is almost over. A guard hands over the toolkit, providing the instruments needed for the high-stakes task. Seth stands back to give her space, fully trusting her technical expertise to handle the volatile device. William sneers from his restraints, convinced that his complex design is impossible to dismantle. With steady hands, Chiara snips the final wire, freezing the countdown at 37 seconds. The traitor's face pales in disbelief as his ultimate trump card is rendered useless. Chiara stares him down with cold triumph, telling him he made the mistake of underestimating her resolve. The threat is finally neutralized as the heavy explosive device thumps harmlessly onto the cold floor. Overwhelmed by the brush with death, Ginny collapses into her friend's arms, sobbing with pure relief. Chiara gently pats her back, offering a steadying presence while whispering that the nightmare is finally over. Seth takes charge of the scene, barking orders to his security detail to clear the area and transport everyone to safety. The chaos of the warehouse is replaced by the sterile, quiet luxury of a modern high-rise as the city lights shimmer in the distance. Chiara focuses on her friend's recovery, urging a shaken Ginny to wash up and change into something comfortable. Once the immediate crisis is managed, Chiara steps out onto the terrace to find Seth waiting for her in the moonlight. She turns to him with a questioning gaze, wondering what brings the CEO to her side at such a late hour. Seth questions her decision to stay the night, his eyes fixed on her as she explains that Ginny is still in deep shock. He leans in with intense gravity, admitting that the night's events have left him just as unsettled as anyone else. Chiara meets his gaze with a faint, knowing smile, challenging his sudden show of vulnerability. Seth's hand moves with quiet confidence, resting firmly against her as he keeps her close. He looks down at her, the professional mask slipping as he waits for her to acknowledge his presence. Exhaustion finally begins to take its toll, and Chiara allows herself to rest against him for a fleeting moment. She negotiates a moment for herself, promising that once Ginny's parents arrive tomorrow, she will be fully available to him. Seth seals the agreement with a focused stare, satisfied with the terms of their upcoming meeting. By the following evening, Chiara finds a mysterious bowl of milk candies waiting for her in her room. She quickly snaps a photo of the gift, curious about the significance of this unexpected treat. Seth appears behind her, wrapping his arms around her in a supportive embrace as they look out over the skyline. A digital message reveals Ginny's sweet intention, explaining that these candies have always been her personal good luck charms. Seth remains close, his presence a stark contrast to the danger they faced just 24 hours ago. He reaches for one of the candy wrappers, his movements precise and deliberate as he examines the gift. Chiara's eyes widen in realization as she spots something far more valuable than candy hidden within the packaging. With a steady hand, Seth slides a brilliant ring onto her finger, symbolizing a bond that transcends the chaos of their lives. They share a quiet, restorative moment together, finding peace in the aftermath of the rebellion. Seth checks in on her well-being, his gaze searching hers to ensure she is truly recovered from the ordeal. He maintains a protective, close proximity as they finally settle in for some much-needed rest after the mission's success. Chiara wakes up feeling the heavy physical toll of the previous day's life-or-death events. She checks her phone and is shocked to see that she has slept well into the morning. Her body feels completely drained of energy as she tries to find the strength to move. Even sitting up on the edge of the bed feels like a monumental task for the exhausted girl. A sharp ache in her lower back reminds her of the intense physical strain she endured during the rescue. Seth enters the room, immediately noticing that his partner is struggling to get moving. He playfully asks if she's feeling unwell after the high-stakes ordeal they just survived. Moving closer, he pulls her into a supportive embrace to help her steady herself. Seth gently massages her back to help relieve the lingering muscle tension from their recent battles. Chiara finally relaxes against him, finding much-needed comfort in his steady and protective presence. As she leans back, her eyes suddenly catch a mysterious mark on the side of his neck. She reaches out to inspect the area, wondering when he managed to get injured during the chaos. Seth gives her a cryptic, knowing look, suggesting the cause of the mark might be closer than she thinks. A wave of realization washes over her as she recalls the frantic and messy moments of their escape. He leans in close to her ear, whispering a reminder of the intensity they shared during the struggle. Startled by the sudden memory, she quickly pushes him back with a flustered expression. She tries to break the tension by loudly announcing that she is absolutely starving. Determined to put the exhaustion behind her, she heads out to find some much-needed breakfast. Hand in hand, the couple enters the formal lounge to meet with the powerful patriarch. Uncle Shang maintains a strictly professional demeanor as he invites the pair to take a seat. He informs them that the police are involved and the traitorous family has been officially disowned. Chiara acknowledges the update with a polite and composed expression, thankful for the closure. Shang then presents a secure black box containing the first translated pages of the secret memoir. He reaffirms his loyalty to them, promising that the family will always have their backs. Chiara is deeply touched by the patriarch's unexpected and firm show of support. Seth keeps his focus entirely on Chiara, ensuring she is ready for the next step of their journey. Their departure is interrupted when a servant announces the arrival of a high-ranking family member. Everett stands at the entrance, looking sharp and refined in his long winter coat. Mr. Shang greets the young man, noting that he was beginning to wonder when he'd return. Everett freezes in total shock when he realizes that Chiara is currently staying at the estate. His gaze drops to their intertwined hands, realizing the romantic shift in their relationship is now official. Seth remains perfectly calm, prompting the stunned Everett to acknowledge his guest properly. Everett manages to force out a polite greeting, though he is clearly reeling from the news. Chiara observes his reaction with a steady gaze, knowing their social circle is about to be turned upside down. The tension at the dinner table is thick as the family gathers to address the recent chaos involving the traitors. Jackson wastes no time confronting Lance about the malicious rumors he spread regarding Chiara's character. Lance remains defensive, internally grumbling about the heavy price he paid when his luxury cars were totaled in retaliation. Chiara gracefully interjects, choosing to take the high road by stating that the past is officially behind her. Jackson is deeply impressed by her maturity, noting how fortunate Everett is to have someone so level-headed. Chiara offers a humble smile, clearly touched by the patriarch's genuine praise. Meanwhile, Lance feels completely alienated, realizing his influence within the inner circle has evaporated. Later that night, Everett and Chiara find a moment of peace on the balcony, overlooking the shimmering city lights. She gazes at him with pure gratitude, appreciating the unwavering support he's shown throughout the entire ordeal. They share a quiet moment of mutual understanding, reinforcing the deep bond they've built through adversity. The atmosphere is serene as they focus entirely on the comfort and security of each other's presence. A sudden knock at the door breaks the silence as a servant informs Everett that Jackson is requesting a private meeting. Everett offers a reassuring gesture before heading out to see what the patriarch needs to discuss. Left alone, Chiara takes a deep breath, processing the intense emotions and changes of the past few hours. She reclines against the pillows, finally feeling a sense of true safety in her new environment. In the lounge, Jackson advises Everett to be patient, warning him to let the relationship progress naturally. Everett questions the previous arrangements, specifically the business-driven deal that once tied Chiara to Lance. Jackson admits that a formal agreement was indeed struck with Chiara's father to secure the family's interests. Sipping his drink, Everett makes it clear that past contracts mean nothing compared to his personal commitment. He sets his cup down with finality, declaring that his loyalty to Chiara is absolute and non-negotiable. Seeing his son's resolve, Jackson smiles, satisfied that the future of the lineage is in capable hands. Everett returns to the guest wing, where a guard confirms that Chiara has already retired to her quarters for the night. Inside, Chiara prepares for the upcoming trip, hoping a good night's rest will prepare her for the journey to Citagena. To her surprise, Everett enters the room, unable to stay away after his serious conversation with Jackson. He checks in on her, ensuring she feels comfortable and safe before they depart the estate tomorrow. Chiara looks up at him, her expression softened by the warmth of his constant concern. He leans in to whisper a word of encouragement, maintaining a supportive and protective stance. The proximity highlights the trust they've developed, a far cry from the cold business world they usually inhabit. Everett offers a gentle, reassuring touch, acting as a pillar of strength for his partner during her recovery. They share a brief, supportive embrace, finding solace in their shared goals and mutual respect. He studies her face with deep admiration, acknowledging the incredible strength she has shown. Their faces draw close in a moment of profound emotional synchronization and quiet comfort. The two lean on each other for stability, momentarily forgetting the chaos of the family politics. They hold on to this brief moment of tranquility, knowing the world outside is waiting for their return. The room remains still, a sanctuary where they can simply exist without the weight of their titles. Chiara closes her eyes, finally at peace and ready to face whatever the future holds by his side. Chiara returns to the quiet elegance of her family estate to check in on her parents. She steps through the door with a gentle greeting, signaling her arrival. Seeking to bridge the gap after her time away, she presents her father with a box of local specialties. Her father eyes the gift with suspicion, questioning why she visited Parma during what was supposed to be a standard lab trip. Chiara maintains her composure, quickly explaining that the gifts were actually brought back by a thoughtful colleague. Seeing her parents share a lighthearted, nostalgic moment over the snacks brings a brief smile to her face. However, she can't shake the feeling of unease as she notices her parents' strangely tense reactions at the mere mention of Parma. Later that evening, the silence is broken by the persistent vibration of her smartphone. She answers the call, her expression turning somber as she is reminded of a looming, painful anniversary. Chiara reflects on how quickly 3 years have passed since the tragedy that changed everything. Under the shade of a lush green tree, she vids a solemn memorial to honor a fallen mentor. With steady hands, she performs the traditional ritual of lighting incense to show her respect. Crouching before the altar, she speaks softly to Boss Hui, updating him on the life she's built since he's been gone. She sits in quiet contemplation, sharing the news of her graduation and the many milestones she's reached this year. Her eyes drift toward the horizon as she confesses that she has finally met someone who has captured her heart. As she prepares to depart the hallowed grounds, a professional assistant arrives to escort her to a surprise meeting. Chiara is taken aback, wondering exactly how Everett managed to track her location to such a secluded spot. She realizes that Everett's protective nature has reached new heights following their narrow escape in Parma. They arrive at a high-end racing circuit where several elite drivers are preparing for a session. Approaching Everett, Chiara questions how he could have possibly known about her secret passion for high-speed racing. Everett looks at her with a knowing gaze, stating that he makes it his professional priority to understand every facet of her life. He invites her to join the group on the track, offering her the chance to demonstrate her skills. Without a moment's hesitation, Chiara points toward a sleek, high-performance red sports car. Before the engines roar to life, Everett offers a final, protective reminder to keep safety as the top priority. As she settles in, Chiara notices the other drivers lining up. Realizing this isn't just a casual drive, but a coordinated event, she counts 7 cars in total, each one sporting a vibrant, distinct color that feels hauntingly familiar. The sight triggers a vivid memory of the Border 7, the elite tactical unit she once served with. She recalls her time as a highly skilled sniper, working alongside a team that shared an unbreakable bond of life and death. The memory shifts to a chaotic riot where she successfully saved hostages, but was forced to witness a devastating loss. The trauma of that day, symbolized by the weight of the past, was the reason their legendary group finally disbanded. Watching the cars race in perfect formation, she realizes Everett has meticulously recreated this scene to help her find closure for her lost comrade. As the session concludes, Everett steps away from his vehicle to meet her with a look of quiet admiration. Chiara walks toward him, her steps fueled by the deep appreciation she feels for his thoughtful gesture. She leans into him, offering a heartfelt embrace to thank him for honoring her history so beautifully. Everett holds her close, softly asking how she intends to express her gratitude for the day's events. Everett leans in close, questioning exactly how Chiara plans to show her appreciation for his help. Chiara stands frozen, her mind racing as she recalls the physical toll of their previous intense training sessions. Flashing back to the day they left Parma, Chiara struggled to walk unassisted while Everett observed her progress. He pointed out that leaning against the walls for support was far less professional than simply accepting his assistance. Ultimately, he provided the necessary physical support to ensure she reached their destination without further delay. Chiara eventually decided to stop worrying about her public image and focus entirely on the mission at hand. Everett agrees with her shift in focus, suggesting they head out to a meal to replenish their energy levels. They arrive at a sleek, modern residence that serves as their secure base for the night. Upon entering the quiet space, Chiara feels a sudden wave of apprehension about the private nature of their meeting. She quickly redirects her attention to the desk, searching for the specific translation draft they need to review. Everett assists her in the search, maintaining a close professional distance to guide her toward the documents. Chiara remains determined to stay focused on the research, despite the distracting intensity of his presence. She takes a seat and begins carefully inspecting the contents of a specialized storage case. Inside the box, she finds a high-quality jade ornament resting directly on top of the paperwork. She lifts the green pendant, wondering why such a valuable artifact was left out in the open. Everett explains that the object is actually the official token belonging to the Shang family matriarch. Chiara is stunned, questioning why Shang Zhonghai would leave such a significant symbol of authority in her care. Everett calmly retrieves the artifact, advising her to prioritize the analysis of the files for now. He notes to himself that his father's blunt actions likely overwhelmed her during this high-stakes transition. The two sit together on the sofa, treating the priceless jade with a surprising level of casualness. Chiara dives into the translated text, searching for clues about the mysterious figure mentioned in the records. She identifies the subject as the legendary stock goddess, who authored her autobiography at the age of 28. Everett notes that having a specific name gives them a clear target for their upcoming data analysis. He realizes his father is being strategically vague, acting like a seasoned veteran who refuses to reveal his full hand. Chiara wonders if Charles might possess more information regarding this elusive financial expert. Everett immediately redirects her attention, ensuring she stays focused on their current collaborative session. He conducts a quick check of her facial alignment, maintaining a strict professional gaze during the inspection. Chiara attempts to maintain her composure as the technical assessment of her posture intensifies. She tries to conclude the meeting, noting the late hour and the need to return home. Everett secures her position to ensure they successfully complete the required physical calibration. He promises to keep the remaining technical procedures brief to avoid any further strain. The team proceeds with the final wardrobe adjustments required for their specialized photography session. Everett monitors the environmental conditions, ensuring the lighting remains optimal for the artistic shoot. Chiara focuses on maintaining the specific emotional expression requested by the creative director. She keeps her eyes closed to better internalize the mood of the complex visual concept. Everett provides final whispered instructions to ensure the artistic vision is captured with total precision. A lone vehicle cruises down the highway toward the pair's next destination. Everett leans in close, suggesting Chiara rests after their grueling schedule. Chiara shoots him a skeptical look, fully aware of who caused her exhaustion. He gently cradles her head, offering a rare apology for the intense workload. In her mind, she remains unconvinced by his sudden display of sincerity. Later, they begin a specialized hydrotherapy session to soothe physical strain. Everett assists her during the technical recovery process in the mist-filled room. They navigate the slippery environment of the therapeutic bath with professional care. He speaks quietly to ensure she remains calm during the high-heat treatment. Back in the car, Chiara realizes she needs distance from his constant oversight. Everett pulls her into an embrace, attempting to smooth over their recent friction. He reacts with visible surprise when she mentions her upcoming medical conference trip. The car departs the campus as she prepares for her journey to Chong City. After her exit, Everett meets with his assistant to discuss pressing family matters. The assistant warns him that Madame Qiao is scheduled to arrive in Nanyang soon. Everett orders a total information blackout to keep Chiara from learning about the visit. Days later, Chiara arrives at the prestigious medical exchange gala in Chong City. A colleague mentions the strange, last-minute venue change that moved the event. Suspicion takes root as she realizes Everett likely manipulated the location. Feeling uneasy, she steps away from the crowd to check for updates. She pulls up her contact list, hoping for a direct answer from him. Her eyes widen in shock when her call is abruptly terminated. The screen flashes a cold notification that her attempt to connect was declined. Standing under the grand chandelier, she realizes he is actively avoiding her. His brief, dismissive text response only deepens her concern. She grips her phone tightly, sensing a hidden crisis back home. Determined, Chiara resolves to uncover exactly what Everett is desperately hiding. Chiara monitors the outgoing signal as she initiates a high-stakes trace to find the truth. She demands a full report on Shang Shaoyan's recent movements, refusing to be kept in the dark any longer. Analyzing the tight security at the Imperial Private Hospital, she realizes the injury must be far more severe than reported. Determined to uncover the truth, she decides to bypass the communication blackout and return to Nanyang immediately. Disguised in a professional medical uniform and mask, she successfully infiltrates the restricted VIP wing. She locates the specific ward where the elite security detail is standing guard. The guards are momentarily distracted as the doctor approaches the secure entrance with clinical confidence. Without a word of warning, she delivers a powerful kick that sends the door flying open. The security team is left completely stunned by the sudden and aggressive breach of the room. Inside, Everett sits calmly on the sofa, his torso wrapped in heavy medical bandages. His lead assistant recognizes the intruder instantly, his face pale with the realization that their secret is out. Chiara pulls down her mask, her expression cold as she confronts the man who tried to hide his condition. Everett looks up, his voice steady as he questions why she returned from her assignment so early. He quickly signals for his subordinates to exit the room, leaving the two of them to handle the matter privately. Chiara steps forward, her hand reaching out to inspect the severity of the medical dressing. Everett maintains a stoic gaze, though he cannot hide the physical toll the injury has taken. He pulls her close, attempting to bridge the distance, despite the obvious pain radiating from his shoulder. Chiara's eyes narrow as she demands to know the exact nature of the wound he sustained. sustained. He admits it was a gunshot and explains that the bullet was only just extracted earlier that morning. The realization that she was the only one excluded from this critical information leaves her feeling deeply betrayed. Refusing to be pacified, she tells him to focus on his recovery and prepares to walk out. Ignoring his medical status, Everett stands up and follows her toward the exit. His assistant tries to intervene, worried that moving around will cause the fresh wound to reopen. Everett's hand firmly grips her arm, stopping her mid-stride to prevent her departure. He corners her against the wall, demanding to know if her anger stems from his lack of transparency. The atmosphere turns incredibly tense as he leans in, forcing her to acknowledge his presence. Chiara looks him directly in the eye, questioning if he ever actually considered a professional future with her. He lifts her chin, his voice dropping to a low tone as he warns her not to speak so recklessly. She counters by highlighting how his manipulation of the Chong City meeting was a clear sign of his lack of faith in her. Everett remains inches from her face, the weight of his unspoken reasons hanging heavy in the air. She argues that his version of protection feels more like a disqualification of her technical capabilities. He closes the gap even further, his focus entirely locked on her as the confrontation reaches a breaking point. Chiara's hand bunches into a fist against his shirt, the physical proximity emphasizing the gravity of their dispute. In a moment of overwhelming emotion, Everett pulls Chiara into a deep, desperate kiss. He pins her against the wall, his actions fueled by a raw need for connection after nearly losing his life. The physical contact is a silent plea, bridging the gap between his secrets and her anger. Chiara's breath hitches as she realizes the depth of the turmoil hidden behind his usual cold facade. Pulling back just an inch, Everett's gaze is heavy with a vulnerability he has never shown another soul. He keeps her caged against the wall, trying to explain that his silence wasn't meant to be a betrayal. Chiara isn't backing down, her eyes flashing with the sting of being the only one left out of the loop. She stares him down, making it clear that she won't tolerate being treated like a fragile outsider ever again. The tension is suddenly broken when she notices the blood-soaked bandages on his chest beginning to slip. Taking charge, Chiara grabs his hand and leads him toward the medical supplies, her professional instincts taking over. She works with practiced precision, carefully unwrapping and replacing the gauze over his fresh gunshot wound. Once the medical task is finished, she tells him to rest, intending to return to her post at Jagate. Everett reaches out, his hand brushing against her as he tries to keep her from leaving his side. He pulls her back into his space, offering a rare, sincere apology for keeping his condition a secret. Chiara looks at him, moved by the fact that a man as proud as Everett is finally swallowing his ego. They stand in the quiet of the hospital room, the air thick with an unspoken truce. Everett searches her face, needing to know if he's finally managed to earn back her trust. Chiara finally voices the question that's been burning in her mind. Who was the one who shot him? She remains close to him, providing the physical support he needs while waiting for an answer he seems hesitant to give. The silence is shattered by the sharp vibration of a phone, showing an incoming call from Li Qiao. Everett's expression instantly shifts into a mask of cold, calculating fury at the sight of the name. He answers the call, his voice dripping with ice as he delivers a lethal warning to the person on the other end. Chiara watches in silence, connecting the dots and realizing the caller is Everett's own mother. Everett's words are sharp and bitter, highlighting the toxic rift between him and the woman who raised him. The revelation hits Chiara hard. It was his own mother who orchestrated the hit on him. He ends the call abruptly, placing the phone face down as if trying to bury the family trauma. Sensing his internal collapse, Chiara pulls his head to her shoulder, offering a rare moment of comfort. Memories of a dark past resurface, echoing with the cruel words of a mother who wished her son was dead. The haunting image of his mother's rejection lingers, explaining the walls he's built around his heart. Everett looks utterly drained, the weight of his mother's hatred visible in his tired eyes. He clenches his jaw, the physical pain of his wound nothing compared to the betrayal of his own blood. Chiara wraps her arms around him, providing a safe harbor in the middle of his personal storm. He leans into her, finally letting go of the stoic mask he forces himself to wear for the world. In this moment, she isn't just his bodyguard. She is the only person he can truly lean on. He leans in for a final, lingering kiss, seeking solace in the only person who sees him for who he is. Chiara gently breaks the contact, her focus shifting back to his health as she warns him not to reopen his stitches. Everett pulls Chiara into a close, supportive embrace, seeking solace in her presence after the devastating revelation about his mother. He leans in, whispering a desperate plea for her to stay by his side as he navigates this emotional wreckage. Chiara reaches out, placing a steadying hand on his chest to provide a sense of calm and stability. They settle into a quiet moment together, prioritizing Everett's emotional healing and physical recovery. The atmosphere remains heavy with the weight of the betrayal as they lean on one another for strength. Chiara rests her head against him, her expression softening as she realizes the sheer depth of the burden he has been carrying alone. Everett gazes into the distance, his eyes sharpening with a newfound sense of purpose and resolve. Their movements are slow and deliberate, ensuring that Everett's recent injuries are not accidentally agitated. They navigate the recovery process with extreme caution, maintaining a strict focus on his physical well-being. Chiara's face flushes with the intensity of the moment as she promises to remain gentle during his rehabilitation. Everett draws closer, expressing that her unwavering support is the only thing making him feel truly alive. 2 days later, a fully recovered Everett stands by his luxury vehicle, looking every bit the powerful heir once again. Chiara approaches him, surprised to see him out of the hospital, and looking so revitalized. He stands tall before her, ready to transition from a wounded patient back into a man of immense influence. Everett leans in to share a private word, promising to give her a full update on his condition later that evening. Once inside the car, he extends a formal invitation for her to accompany him to a high-stakes banquet. Chiara contemplates the significance of the event, knowing their public appearance together will change their lives forever. The towering skyscraper of the venue looms ahead, serving as the grand stage for their public debut. Dressed in their finest formal attire, the pair makes a striking entrance that immediately commands the entire room's attention. Staff members bow in deep respect as they usher the high-profile couple into the main hall. Everett provides a final instruction for her to stay safe while he handles a brief professional obligation. Chiara turns in surprise when she hears a familiar voice calling out to her from across the crowded room. She finds herself face-to-face with her parents and brother, who are stunned to see her at such a prestigious gathering. With total confidence, she informs her shocked family that she is attending the banquet with her boyfriend. Everett steps forward, his presence radiating authority as he prepares to reveal his true identity to her relatives. The couple stands together as the focal point of the entire ballroom, their partnership now an undeniable public fact. Everett formally acknowledges Chiara's family, bridging the gap between his world and hers with a respectful greeting. He makes it official, introducing himself as Chiara's partner and solidifying his commitment in front of the city's elite. Her family is left utterly speechless, realizing that the man standing before them is none other than the legendary Shang Shaoyan. Chiara gazes up at Everett, her voice filled with curiosity, as she asks why he brought her to this specific high-stakes event. Everett leans in close, making it clear to everyone watching that his commitment to her is absolute and her status is untouchable. He stands tall and firm, announcing to the room that his father will arrive shortly to finalize their formal engagement. Her father beams with pride, fully approving of the prestigious alliance now that Everett's true identity as a Shang has been revealed. Chiara observes her parents' sudden change in heart with a sense of irony, knowing their warmth is tied strictly to Everett's power. Everett remains by her side, guiding her through the high-pressure environment of the gala with a protective hand. The pair walks in perfect synchronization, their steps steady as they move toward a more private corner of the venue to talk. He holds her close, suggesting that she should officially move into his residence to ensure her constant safety and comfort. Everett speaks softly near her, emphasizing the logic of living together once their union is formally recognized. Chiara meets his gaze with a playful challenge, reminding him that the engagement hasn't been officially settled just yet. He lowers his head to speak directly to her, focused entirely on their shared future and her father's upcoming visit. Everett maintains a steady, protective presence as he continues to explain his plans for the upcoming family meeting. They share a quiet, intense moment of connection, solidifying their bond away from the prying eyes of the crowd. He places a steadying hand on her, ensuring she feels fully supported during this whirlwind of life-changing events. Everett expresses his deep desire to keep her close, unwilling to spend even a single moment apart from her. Later, Everett is momentarily stunned by the sight of Chiara appearing in a vibrant, traditional red dress for the first time. Chiara approaches the family elder with poise, showing her respect as she prepares for the formal introductions to begin. The elders exchange pleasantries, noting how perfectly the two families have finally come together in this destined alliance. The uncle smiles warmly, directing the couple toward a special commemorative gift he has carefully prepared for them. Together, they approach the display table where a refined wooden box sits waiting to reveal its contents. Chiara's eyes light up as she discovers the precious manuscript pages she had been searching for are safely inside. Everett observes her reaction, curious if this bold choice of attire was her own personal preference for the occasion. He looks down for a moment, playfully suggesting that she should avoid wearing this specific color in public again. He draws her into a protective embrace, admitting that she looks far too stunning for anyone else to witness. A small, stylized version of Chiara reacts with surprise to his unexpectedly firm and possessive stance. With a gentle blush, she agrees to reserve this special look exclusively for his eyes from now on. Everett presents a sleek watch box to Chiara, his expression serious as he offers the thoughtful gift. He carefully fastens the timepiece onto her wrist, ensuring the fit is perfect for his future bride. Chiara realizes with a start that the elegant accessory is a perfect match to the one Everett wears himself. She beams with joy, finding the idea of wearing couples' items surprisingly charming. Looking on, Chiara's father is struck by how much she resembles her mother, Yilan, in this moment. He explains his decision to move forward with the marriage, feeling it was destined since their childhood. The patriarch holds the red envelope containing the updated marriage registry, finally fulfilling a long-held wish. Everett inquires if the plan is for Chiara to eventually return to her family's roots in Parma. The father insists the choice belongs to Chiara alone, whether she stays in Nanyang or claims her noble inheritance abroad. He worries about the dark history she might face in Parma, but vows the Shang family will always support her. The group gathers around a lavishly spread table to finalize the details of the upcoming wedding date. With a stern but caring look, The father charges Everett with the solemn duty of treating Chiara with the utmost respect. Standing firmly by her side, Everett gives his word that he will cherish her. Their hands lock together, a silent vow of unity before their assembled families. A celebratory toast is raised, marking the official alliance between the two powerful houses. Despite the joy, Chiara can't shake the feeling that this entire progression has been meticulously orchestrated by an unseen hand. Later that night, the moon hangs high over the quiet, stately mansion. Seated comfortably in her room, Chiara begins reviewing the biography of a legendary female stock guru. She logs into an old trading account on her laptop, stunned to find that the massive assets remain untouched after all these years. Her eyes widen in disbelief as the scale of the fortune is revealed on the screen. The password for the account ends in 312, the exact numbers of her own birthday. Examining a photo of the guru at a piano, Chiara notices a haunting resemblance to her own features, raising a mountain of questions. The next day, Chiara descends the staircase in a graceful blue dress to greet their guests. Everett is already waiting in the lounge, having brought formal gifts for his official visit as her boyfriend. She catches his eye, feeling the weight of his first public appearance at her home in this new capacity. Everett maintains a polite and professional demeanor as he greets her elder brother. Her brother struggles with the sudden shift in hierarchy, nearly stumbling over how to address the powerful man. Everett remains composed, unfazed by the slightly awkward family dynamics. Her brother quickly recovers, offering a polite smile of gratitude for the visit. Watching the interaction, Chiara can't help but feel a wave of bashfulness at the situation. Everett takes his seat beside her, leaning in to softly ask if she rested well the previous night. Her brother's protective instincts flare up as he watches the couple sit closely together. Interrupting the tension, her father announces that the meal is ready and invites everyone to the dining room. Everett accepts the invitation with a calm, confident nod, ready to cement his place in the family.